It is 6 o'clock. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Australia's Cameron Smith carded 5 straight birdies to start the back 9, shooting an 8 under 64 final round to rally from a 4-stroke deficit and win the 150th Open Championship. He won by 1 shot over American Cameron Young.
Probably one of the best fields in golf, if not the best field in golf, and to get away with the win there definitely was a bit of a confidence booster, but I don't know, it's going to be tough to beat this one, I think.
Major League Baseball Nationals defeated the Braves 7-3 in the final game before the All-Star break. Major League Baseball draft, former Vanderbilt ace Kumar Rocker, who was selected by the Mets in the first round last season, only to go unsigned because of medical concerns, was selected 3rd overall by the Texas Rangers. And LAFC defeated Nashville SC 2-1 at Geodis Park last night. Gareth Bale made his MLS debut as a second-half substitute. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. J Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Start of a new week. We're here, all of us. SEC Media Days this week. Camp next week.
Yes.
And we're off and running. And at some point, Deshaun Watson probably within the next 10 days as well, is what it sounds like.
And the Houston Texans just jumped into the pool with him, man. Well, jumped out of the pool.
Yeah, that was a CYA. So we got to make sure this isn't.
God.
So let's go ahead and settle with all these women. We probably screwed up here. It's like, no, yeah, you screwed up.
Yup. And can I just throw this out there for free, Jay? I don't want to hear a single soul complain about the rain today.
No, it's awesome.
We earned this,
Yeah.
okay?
It's awesome.
Not a single soul, Jason.
I don't care about your grass.
I'm just saying in general, this is for the farmers, for the temperature, for everybody's soul. You know what? This will make you appreciate the sun a little bit more.
Problem is, this is a momentary reprieve.
Hey, we're here right now.
I saw
with
it
you.
right. I saw 79 dew points and 101 Thursday and Friday before you even get to the heat index. Thursday and Friday might be the hottest days we've had, period.
I know.
Which is just stupid. I was in East Tennessee all weekend, and people were like, man, it's hot here. I'm like, nah, it's not.
It's pleasant
Nah,
over there.
We're over here by the mountains and everything like that. Like, yeah, it's hot. It's not this.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
Yeah. As I wear that shirt today.
Yes, you did.
I hate it here. But yeah, so it wasn't as hot over there, you said? Over there.
I mean, it was still, it was 85, 90, but it just didn't feel quite the same. Yeah. Humidity wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
I played golf Saturday, an actual round, and we were out there for like 4.5 hours. Another fact that I'm sunburned because I didn't have sunscreen.
Oh my dog. You took your clubs on the trip, or you?
No.
Oh, you borrowed some.
Hold on. Anyway.
Okay.
No, I wasn't planning on playing, but
Yeah.
I got an invite, and so used some rental clubs.
I've been there before.
And they were too short. Like they were for short people.
Mm-hmm.
And I did fine. It went fine.
It went fine?
Yeah, but out there for a long time, and yeah, it was humid, but not like this. Not like the dew points here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I could handle being out there as long as I had some water. It was good.
It was disrespectful here. It's very disrespectful here.
It's incredibly disrespectful.
And I was downtown this weekend, too. Me and the wife had a little bit of a staycation, vacation with each other, celebrate our 10th year anniversary. And, man, let me tell you what. The heat don't stop the Woo Girls. The paddle taverns, just groups of just dudes on buses partying.
Taverns.
Pedal.
It's pedal.
Either way,
That
tavern.
paddle tavern's a different thing.
I mean, they probably prefer it after they leave here, okay? But it's downtown Nashville is the truth, okay? I just got to throw Broadway and even just off Broadway something. It's just, I can't believe this city is like this sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I really said to myself, like, this is Vegas without the casinos.
It's weird because we live in a vacation spot.
Yeah.
We live in a destination.
Yeah.
It's odd because it's like, no, it's our day to day. And so we don't fully get that people come here and just, they do the same. Like,
Yeah.
we did the whole deal, right? Like, it's the first trip we took without CG, really. And so we did the touristy stuff a little bit, and we shopped a lot because that's what you do on vacation. And we did the thing where you end up going to the same store twice. You go the first time, you're like, all right, we got everything we're going to get here. Then you leave, you're like, man, I should have gotten that. You end up going back on the way back.
Yeah.
Like, you find another way around, all that stuff. But, like, I understand the mentality now of living in a tourist place like Orlando or something, because people come here to act like idiots.
Yeah.
And to spend a bunch of money and all of this. So, yeah, the weather's not going to stop them.
No.
Only thing that makes me worried is how much alcohol are you imbibing in this humidity? You better stay hydrated out here, or there's going to be woo girls that are going to be more like this. It's going to be like an ambulance. It's going to be like, woo.
Yeah,
woo,
for real.
Woo. That's a new way to say woo girl. Stay hydrated out here.
No.
This week, you come in this weekend.
Yeah.
You better be ready.
Yeah, you better come with an IV of your own, man. I saw the most hilarious bus that I saw this weekend, though, of course. I get the bachelor parties. You go do your thing, but, like, there was a bus, man. It was one of those open ceiling buses. Well, the bus ain't have a roof. Shout out to our brother Ron the Slay, man. He's in the chat early this morning. Golly, what is he doing up so early? But aside from that, it probably was like 30 dudes, Jay, on a bus, and they were all just dancing and getting it. I was just like, not a single species of the opposite sex on the other side. I was like, just have a ball. But they were just losing it on this bus this past weekend, Jay. I was like, you know what? That's how you have a great time with your homies right there. I was like, screw that. Direct sunlight, lack of water, because you know they were only drinking alcohol. I think there was like a beer. There was a bartender at the back of this bus. I was impressed with how they was just rolling up and down the street, just getting it, Jay. And we were riding beside them for a little bit too.
What's interesting, I mean, we ran into traffic in Knoxville on Friday and everything else, but like we got to Johnson City, and it's the first time I'd spent any real time in Johnson City. I could live in Johnson City.
You could.
Mountains.
It's nice there.
It's got everything you need.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot that you don't. It's a little bit quieter. It reminds me of more of like the city I grew up in.
Yeah.
It just had a feel. Everybody was nice. Not that everybody's not nice here, but just in a state.
Yeah.
Like generally everywhere that we went, I could understand why Abby enjoyed her college experience going to Quillen School of Medicine down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, I'm like, where's ETSU ranked in med schools and stuff like that? Are they good? And like, well, there's 3 in the state of Tennessee, which I didn't know either. I was like, so there's not one in Knoxville.
No,
there's Memphis, but not University of Memphis. There's another Memphis that she said she didn't really. That's not where she wanted to go. Vanderbilt's the other one.
Ain't it UT Medical in Memphis?
I guess that's probably right.
Yeah.
She said it's
UT
UT
Medical.
something.
Yeah, UT Medical. Yeah.
So it's those 2, and then there's East Tennessee State.
What's the second one I missed? Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Okay, Vandy, UT Medical, and ETSU.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So I mean, I didn't know. I thought there were probably more, but she said, no, it's those 3. And so it seemed like, and there's a lot of esteemed alumni from down there.
Yeah.
I was impressed just being around. And the campus down there is beautiful, too, at East Tennessee State.
Yeah.
Really nice old buildings. And
they are the
really
ones that had the indoor football stadium with, like, the wood ceiling and everything, I feel
the
like.
Dome thing.
Yeah, the dome thing.
She showed me that.
Absolutely. By the way, I told you earlier, went to Famous Dave's barbecue judging. Ron was judging it. And Christian was there. Becky was there. We pulled up on them Saturday. And let me tell you this, and I said this before we came on the air. What we do in the backyard is good. Our families love it. Your chicken, Jay, you're sure your wife loves it, okay?
Yeah, they're fans of what we do.
Yeah, they're fans of what we do, okay? Ribs, fans of what we do. I know Ron speaks highly of my wings. But let me tell you this. Just being a bystander in a barbecue judging contest. Okay, I didn't have the chicken. I had the ribs, all right? And some other side things that they had extras of. There's a difference, Jason, and what we do in the backyard and what they do on the grill for competition. By far, some of the best ribs I've ever had in my entire life.
I don't doubt it.
I'm talking about.
That makes me sad that I was not there for that.
I almost just was like, how did y'all do this? And you did it this morning, and it looks so perfect. Jason, by far, I'm talking about not even close. I do well on the grill in the backyard, okay? But a competition cooker, griller, smoker, whatever you want to. Somebody made a cheesecake, Jason, on the grill that day, and it was scrumdiddlyumptious, all right? It was phenomenal. And I was just like, okay, there's definitely levels to what you can do. It was phenomenal, man. Random did a really good job. The Zone showed up big time.
Don't doubt it.
For that this weekend. The turnout was really good, too. I didn't even realize. By the way, that Famous Dave's looks amazing. That is a very nice restaurant over there, too, in Hermitage, man. I was just like, whoo, that was good. But, yeah, just shout out to all the smokers that were out there this past weekend. That was a real cool event, man. Super proud of that. But, yeah, the ribs, hands down, some of the best I've ever had.
Today on the program, Bill Bender will talk college and obviously SEC Media Days with him next hour. Jeremy Fowler, you know him of the lists, will join us around 9:30 this morning for a couple of minutes. Looking forward to just kind of post-morteming that moment where everybody talks about Jeremy Fowler for a couple weeks in sports media. So that's out here. Stories, Cameron Smith goes low at St. Andrews, and McElroy still hasn't won a major in like 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looked like it was his, and back down again, just like the back down at Augusta years ago, falling apart. LeBron says he wished everybody cared about winning like he does because he never has an unexpressed thought about how he's better than everybody else. Put that out there. I guess that's probably geared directly towards Russell Westbrook.
Oh, Russ is seeking trade now,
Russ
isn't
has
it?
already gotten rid of his agent, too, because his agent's trying to tell him, hey, man, you need to show him who you are and stay in L.A. And he's like, no, I want out of here. He wants gone, too.
Golly.
So,
and again, we brought up lightly the Texan situation, the Sean situation.
also in Texas, and this is really interesting, Kumar Rocker to the Rangers with the 3rd overall pick after last year. The Rangers took Jack Leiter. So they're back on the same organization again. And Rocker, who had the story that ESPN put out, the long form story about him last week about how this has gone over the last year. It's weird how Boris is controlling him in the interviews and what he can and can't say. He's kind of coming across like difficult person to deal with, even more so. And I think that's Boris's goal is don't give him anything to slight you right now.
Yeah, that's something we'll
talk about.
We'll talk about that. I met a dad this past weekend that was discussing some stuff, man. It was really interesting. And also, I watched a good bit of that MLB draft last night. Of course, my kids are in it, so I'm intrigued by it. And hearing one high schooler, what he did would just be frowned upon, but he was a first-round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. So, yeah, we'll get into it as we speak about the difficulty of baseball, I guess.
All that and plenty more. 615-737-1045. J. Mart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything. Like when that relief valve on your water heater fails and it pours gallons of water into your finished basement. ServPro is prepared for it. Or if you have an electrical shortage in your office that causes extensive smoke and water damage, ServPro is prepared for it. Or a musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that too. You need a lot more than help sometimes cleaning up, and that's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services ranging from drywall patching and document drying all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new and as soon as possible. So if you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800 ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800 ServPro. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction, and franchises are independently owned and operated.
It's J. Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Sun MLB draft. Saw a couple of Vols go. I don't exactly know what competitive balance round A is, but that's where Honcho went, 38th.
They were calling
Jordan
it
Beck.
first round still.
I mean, yeah, it's still deemed that, but it's competitive balance round A after 2 compensation picks and then the original round, which Drew Gilbert to the Astros at 28, which some people, even ESPN, had him ranked at 11. So they're like, well, now he's going to have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not what he needs.
Like you needed another
yeah,
one.
right. And Spencer Jones from Vandy at 25 to the Yankees.
25, yeah.
6'7".
6'7". What is he? Right fielder is what they were calling him?
Yeah.
Or outfielder is what they were calling him. I was watching it, as I said last night, and they were saying, looking at the Yankees lineup, they get off the bus and they look like a basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And they do. They got how do you say it's Giancarlo Stanton?
Yeah, they've got
they
Stanton.
have him. They got Judge. Now they got the kid from Vanderbilt. They got a big old squad, man. They don't look like baseball players, but I think Aaron Judge probably opened that door to that a little bit more. I think right now they have him playing center field, which a guy that size, that height, you don't see him playing center field other than the fact that he's just an athlete and he's grown as a player, man. But the same way the Yankees go after tall players, the Astros go after short players, man, because Drew Gilbert isn't the tallest guy in the locker room, and neither is Altuve. So that lines up perfectly.
Then you've got Schultz, the pitcher from
Yeah.
Illinois High School, who's committed to Vanderbilt, that got picked 26th.
Well, they also had another kid
Yeah.
that was committed to Vanderbilt. What is his name? I just had it. Brandon Barriera. What is it? How do they say it? Barriera. He was also from. He was committed to Vanderbilt, and also teammates of Enrique from Vanderbilt. American Heritage High School is where they're out of in Plantation, Florida. Like that is a Vanderbilt hub, by the way, too, because I think they got like 3 players on Vandy's roster now from him. But that's what I wanted to talk about, too, as far as last night's draft. He apparently shut it down during his high school season. And they were like, why did you do this? What was going on? And he said he saw a teammate of his blow out his arm. And he said at that point he realized, well, I got to do what's right for me. Can you imagine the outrage that his coaches probably had and everybody behind him? And here he is last night, as a 23 overall draft pick. Left-handed pitcher going to the Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays. And I've learned more and more in baseball, you got to have somebody to give you the hard decision. Like, you got to make that hard decision. I was talking to a dad the other day, and he was speaking about his kid. He was just like, you have to be protective of their arms. You got to be protective of their pitch count and just how you really navigate their careers a little bit. Because in baseball, he said he saw his teammate in high school go from projected number 1 overall draft pick also to not really being spoken about until you go to the college world. And it was interesting to see a kid shut it down like that and to have the maturity to do it when so much pressure on them is to just go finish playing the game, go finish your season out. And we speak about football players, opting out of bowl games. This was a kid opting out to continue to play high school baseball and pitching, and it paid off for him. Apparently, his friggin' changeup and his slider and his fastball are all some of the best that you never really seen from a lefty like this. So they were super high on this kid. If Vandy had got him, they're in a good place. And who's to say they're not gonna get him? I think they got into in early August to decide.
Well, there's the kid that got drafted by the White Sox. The last sentence about him, it says it could take an overslot bonus to buy him out of Vanderbilt. Like,
Ooh.
I don't even know what an overslot bonus is. But I guess those things are to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
But you're seeing that. By the way, my father-in-law sent me a message and said, don't forget about Meharry Medical College.
Meharry Medical, yes.
Right here in Nashville,
100%
HBCU.
correct. Yep, Meharry Medical. Yes, very respected too.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like
Yes.
a 1.1% admission rate to get in there. It's not an easy school to get into.
No, it is
I would say
not.
most medical schools are not. So
Yeah. Shout out to your father-in-law throwing it out there, man. That's awesome.
that's somebody that's been here his whole life. Unlike me, who just doesn't know enough. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, he gonna make sure you hit this medical school though, Jay. But yeah, last night's draft was very interesting. By the way, a lot of legacy kids too. A lot. I think the first two dads, Jackson Holiday, I think his dad's Matt Holiday, and Drew Jones, whose dad is Andrew Jones. Both had dads play in the MLB. And then number 3 overall, as we spoke about earlier, Kumar, whose dad is NFL player, and still an NFL coach. Way to bet on yourself, though. I didn't see this happening. They were projecting him like 12 to like 20 this year. I think he went 10 last year.
Well, and most people had him towards the end of the first round.
Yeah.
And so they took him at 3. They had a position of need and maybe lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, if they end up doing what they did at Vanderbilt, a lot of teams would be sad that they allowed that to happen. But, I mean, Kumar had been pitching these stints in these independent leagues over the last like month and a half or whatever. If you read the articles, like scouts everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everybody watching, everybody from every organization trying to find out what's he got, how's he look, all this. And, well, looked good enough to go number 3 after going top 10 last year.
Yeah.
And I just hope he makes the Mets regret it for the rest of his life, not just because I'm a Braves fan and we're in the same division, but also just because it just feels like the Mets did him wrong in a lot of ways.
Again, they tried to say there was something going on with his shoulder or elbow. I think it was more of his elbow, but it said like he had been cleared by top doctors a while ago. And I think the biggest deal breaker with them, Scott Boras is his agent, right? Yeah. Well, he's not going to play that. He's been around the game for a very long time. And for them to try to knock him as far as his money goes, because I'm sure that's what the biggest issue was. He wanted a certain amount, and they said, no, medically, you can't get this. Now, I'm not sure if that's 100% fact, however that's supposed to go, but it didn't work out for him. Resubmits himself to the draft this year and actually goes higher than he did last year to the same team as his old a friend of his with Jack Leiter. So could you write a better story, Jay? And what was the front office thinking?
Yeah,
you
not if it works. No, you couldn't. Like, it becomes an amazing story if it works out for both, and we hope it does. Lee in Nashville. Lee, what's up?
What's up, Lee?
Hey, guys. I watched most of the draft last night, or all of the draft, but I think the one thing I took away is I feel really damn old this morning because my favorite player growing up was Andrew Jones, and his son got drafted number 2, and then obviously Matt Holiday's kid went number 1. I was like, damn, I'm really old now. Like, I'm seeing these kids of the guys that I grew up watching and admiring, and now the second generation has come along. Man, it was really cool to see that, but a little sad too.
I'll say this: they are still in high school, though, so you got that.
Yeah,
you got that part of it. I wouldn't dismiss it that much. Drew Jones, though, had a clip going around, and I didn't know anything. I knew a little bit about him, not a whole lot. There was a clip of him at bat, and of course the crowd. Overrated. They were digging into him, and guess what he does? Hit a grand slam. And you look over to the corner, and the coach of the opposite team and the pitching coach looked at each other just like threw their hands in the air like, really? We chose to throw that pitch to him, and why'd you throw it right there in that location? Those kids were good. It was a real big push on high school players last night.
He was another Vandy commit.
He was a Vandy commit.
That's what somebody's saying in the chat. I actually didn't know that.
Oh, I almost feel bad for Corbin. Golly. Out of Georgia, Norcross, Georgia, man. Big time.
I mean, he was on ESPN's draft board. He was number 1 overall.
He was number 1 overall
as a high schooler.
God, well, if you saw him playing, you'd say to yourself, yeah, he's legit. And, of course, the pedigree of dad, his baseball pedigree plays into itself. So, yeah, there's no other way around that. It was really cool to watch a different draft last night. It was either that or I was watching replay of NFL games yesterday. I watched the Cincy-Kansas City game, and there was another football game on yesterday. I just had it on. I really wasn't paying attention. That's where we are right now, Jay, in the summertime. Watching NFL replay games, man. We got about, 8 sleeps left? 6? Before the kickoff of camp? 8? That's where we are right now in the summertime. I voluntarily am watching replay games.
I didn't watch any TV.
You didn't see anything like this weekend?
Bluey was the only thing that was on yesterday in the house.
Is it?
That and Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
What's that?
For a little while.
Really?
It's Mr. Rogers' alter ego, the tiger that he used to be. as the puppet, but now the puppet stars in.
He got his own little show.
Yeah, I mean now that Fred's
thing.
passed away, yeah, it's real popular among kids.
Did not know that was a thing.
Young kids.
Young. But yeah, speaking of young, like you said, bunch of young prospects out of high school.
I was looking at a couple things at the 33rd team this morning, Mike Tannenbaum's website, and one of them is every NFL team's most savvy move this offseason. I like the word savvy, so I saw that. I'm like, all right, well, let's see what this is. And a lot of them are obvious, but you get to the South.
Yeah.
Houston Texans, the Deshaun Watson trade. Difficult to praise anybody, but the Texans came out of this in about as good a position as you could expect. First rounders in the next 2 drafts, other picks. They've got what you would think potentially it would take for the rebuild to start if you can find the right quarterback. Indy is the Matt Ryan trade.
But as far as that rebuild goes, they got a coach that I think neither one of us think is long term.
Right. But maybe he's just there for
the bridge of getting the culture right. Lovey, I like Lovey and what he's kind of stood for. It's just you just know that ain't a long time. They gave $17 million to a guy last year and told him basically, here you go and retire.
Yeah.
But yeah, savvy move by them for sure as far as getting all those picks back.
Indy's and Matt Ryan trade. If you look at just like some of the stats between Ryan and Wentz, and I can't see the entire chart here because of how it's set up, but there's accuracy in the pocket. Matt Ryan was 9th. Carson Wentz was 30th.
Yeah.
On screens, Matt Ryan was 7th. Wentz was 31st.
Dang.
Throwing under pressure, Matt Ryan was 3rd. Inefficiency, Wentz was 26th.
Jeez.
And his air yards plus 15, Matt Ryan was 5th and Carson Wentz was 16th. So if you look at like just the overall numbers, and of course Matt Ryan was on a terrible football team.
Yeah. They're calling it a great a savvy
They're calling
move.
that the savviest move this year. And I agree.
Well,
I mean, you got out from underneath Carson Wentz, first of all, and you brought in Total Pro and Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Who I still think can play.
That's interesting because I was looking at Jim Wyatt's mailbag, and this Titans-Colts hate is by far one of the best. I'll say it's very entertaining. You said that about that being a savvy move for him, but I'll just read it off on Jim Wyatt's mailbag. Jacob Anderson from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, a Titans fan, says, "What up, Jim? It's your boy Jacob. The Indianapolis Colts are the most overrated team going into the offseason. Getting a 37-year-old quarterback past his prime isn't going to send the Colts over the edge. Also, I'm calling a Titans sweep again, and I will head to Indy to watch it happen so I can bathe in tears of Colts fans. Anyways, thoughts on tacos?"
All right. Says they surrendered only a 3rd-round pick for a quarterback who's still a top-half starter in the NFL. Played under the heaviest of fire in Atlanta, playing behind an offensive line that should allow him more time. He gets him back to the postseason.
Well, I want to see that.
Jacksonville is hiring Doug Peterson. Anything other than Urban Meyer, that was going to be one.
Yeah, 100%.
And then for Tennessee, what do you think it is?
Tennessee,
savviest move.
Hassan Haskins.
No.
Tim Kelly.
No. What do you think the savviest move would be that the Titans pulled off during this offseason?
Getting a trade for AJ?
No, you would never put that as a savvy move.
That's what I'm saying. What could be a savvy move for them?
Who'd they draft that fell right in their lap?
Traylon?
No,
Malik.
Yes.
We're really going that route?
Yeah.
That's the savviest move for them? By the way, he's yet to sign too, from my understanding. So I wonder what his language is going to be as far as this deal goes. It'll get done at some point. But
Tannehill is a perfect bridge until Willis is ready. He will keep the Titans competitive. Unlikely to rock the boat even after the Titans picked his successor. Willis may not work out as an NFL quarterback, but at the price they paid, he was well worth the swing.
Oh, my goodness. If they really think that talent is there, that makes sense. I'm just putting a stop on actually saying he's the guy until I know he's getting a whole lot of reps.
No one should say that.
Yeah.
They drafted him to be the guy in the future.
But still, though, Jay, he got to get some reps. I'm listening a little bit this morning talking about the Jordan Love situation with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Who's to say that Jordan Love can't be a really good quarterback? But if he's not getting the reps in real time, then he's not going to get any better, man. That's where I'm at with Malik. Like, say what you want to. I think Tannehill plays this year all the way out.
So do I.
Yeah, no, I know you feel that way, but in the general sense of Malik being the dude, if the Titans don't make the playoffs this year, I think you kind of move on from Tannehill, right? And for the most part. But if he goes out and crush it this year, you really want to get rid of a quarterback that had a really good year for you? Now, what do you
mean by crush it?
Meaning he gets this team to the playoffs. They get one
That's
win.
not enough.
That's not enough still?
No.
I know we heard that, but now we're away emotionally from that time of the year.
It's still not enough.
It's still not enough to not go with Malik.
No, because eventually you have to start doing more than you have done previously. And they've done that the last few years with Tannehill at quarterback. Like, that's not the same. They've gone there 3 years in a row. First year they went to AFC title game, mainly because Derrick Henry ran the ball. Then lost to the Ravens and scored 13 points in the process, and then lost that game to the Bengals. If they give back to the playoffs and it's still average Tannehill in the playoffs, I don't think that's enough.
Golly. Go ahead.
Can I slow things down a moment here? What do we have in Willis? We don't know. We have no clue.
Potential?
Yeah, as college football Hall of Fame coach Boots Donnelly used to tell me all the time, potential gets coaches fired.
Yeah.
My point to that is, I'm not saying he's not going to be a starter, not saying he's not going to be a great quarterback. I have no idea what he is right now. We haven't seen anything. What I do know is he was a quarterback at Liberty at an unsophisticated offense compared to the NFL that does have a lot of athletic ability.
Yeah.
And I know people want to draw the comparisons to McNair, and there are a few, although McNair was a borderline Heisman candidate in his college career. We don't know what we have yet. It's tough to project Willis and this offense beyond this year right now.
Yes, it is. And look, if he's not the guy, eventually that will be determined. And maybe Tannehill, that's the only reason Tannehill would still be here is if there is no other option. I feel like, unless you get to the championship game.
Well, if this is the case, then you really got to sell out for Malik Willis then. Like, you really got to buy into him. And that goes from early offseason releasing of Ryan Tannehill. Like, that's where you're at. And to say, we're going to cultivate this offense to fit your needs. Like, that's where it's at. But again, who's to say what he's going to look like in a controlled practice setting? That's the biggest issue.
Oh, you're going to see him in the preseason. Because your starting quarterback's not going to be playing.
I know. But is that enough, though, in preseason action?
But that's all the fans are going to see. That's what I'm saying, is that all the fans it's going to see, which concerns me, is that if he goes and quote-unquote balls out in the preseason.
Or the opposite.
Whatever, or the opposite, then people are either going to really inflate the tires or they're going to be deflated.
Okay.
One way or the other.
If he doesn't have a great showing, does he still get the same slander as Tannehill? You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
2 picks in a game and
no, he won't get the same slander because he
ain't Tannehill.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, there is that, but there's also Tannehill's been in this league for 8 years.
Yeah. Willis is the next hope. He's not going to catch any slander because he's the next hope.
It'll be like we already knew it was going to take time.
Well, yeah, you can always lean on that.
And here's the thing. It is going to take time.
Yeah.
Everybody we've talked to that would have any kind of knowledge of the situation says it's going to take time. Now, they could be bluffing us, or they're telling us the truth.
I almost want to jump out and say, no, I'm going to jump out there and say, I think Tannehill's back in 23.
I'm starting to think the same thing.
Yeah. Just because there's just not enough wiggle room for Malik to actually grow yet. And with this older bunch, again, Derek coming back potentially maybe again. I'm on record now by saying I think Tannehill's a quarterback in 23, regardless. And that could be better for Malik, too.
Well, you just broke Tannehill. You just broke Tennessee's heart. You just broke the whole state's heart hearing that. Nobody wants to hear that, Mom.
If somebody's refurbishing Matt Ryan, Tannehill ain't that bad to where you can't be above board.
It's true. It's not being refurbished in the same place he was at, though.
Well, it's one of two guys. It's either Tanny or it's Willis. It's one of two guys.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's another name. I mean, you never know. Crazy stuff happens in this league.
Yeah.
I don't think Chiefs fans thought Tyreek Hill was going to be playing for the Dolphins week 1.
Facts.
You never know. Things happen pretty quick in this world. 615-737-1037. 1045 is the telephone number, 737-1045. That's an interesting just thought experiment. You want to talk about just pure reckless speculation. Who's the Titans starting quarterback in 2023, do you think? Because then that gets into how do you feel about how this team is going to do in 2022?
There we go.
Because that's really the question mark. Saw one person say, look, he's got to get the Titans to the Super Bowl without an interception.
Stop.
Nobody asked
Stop
for that
it.
That's violence.
What are we talking about?
We'll be back. It's Jay Martin on 1045 The Zone. If hair loss has you down, if it's something you're just not comfortable with, or maybe it's not you, it's somebody in your family and they're worried about it, they're just starting to see it begin, or maybe it's been there for a while and they're tired of just not feeling that extra bump in their step, that extra confidence, PAI Medical could be an answer. Matter of fact, it is an answer. Surgical procedures, the most advanced non-surgical solutions, whatever it is that you need, they've got you. It's your own hair. It's not anything but natural, and it's gradual. It just kind of flows back in, or it thickens up depending on what it is that you're doing. When it comes to cost, they've got affordable payment plans that fit anyone's budget. They're great people. You go in, they take photos of you from all angles. You sit down, then they tell you, here's what we can do. Here's the different options. And then say, what are your goals here? What would you like to accomplish here? Then they tell you what's realistic. And here's what we can do on this procedure. Here's what we can do with this one. Maybe you have to do 2 procedures, whatever it might be. They can find the solution to get you where you want to go. These people, all they do is hair. They're the very best at it. 615-376-6010. I called them, and I can vouch for them. They're awesome people, and they are really awesome at what they do. 615-376-6010. They've been in Nashville for over 25 years. Talk to them. Let them show you what they can do. WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com.
Tune into 3HL today through Thursday for their coverage of SEC Media Days. Listen in to hear all the latest information and interviews during 4 days filled with SEC football conversation live from the College Football Hall of Fame in Hotlanta. 3HL's coverage of SEC Media Days presented by Brentwood Hearing Center. For more info and schedule of interviews, visit 1045thezone.com/events today.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. That'll be good content. Lorenzo's on line one. Lorenzo, what's up?
What's going on, fellas? Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday.
I disagree with most take on Tannehill because the AFC Championship game was his ceiling. Once we got there, he showed us that he can't lead us any further, as we've seen in the past few seasons. So if he takes to the AFC Championship again and doesn't perform, then we got to move on. Because in my opinion, we've already wasted 2 years.
So look, here's the thing to that point, Lorenzo. I thought you were kind of done there. If you have more, my apologies. But if you've got to get to the Super Bowl or you're going to lose your job, then he's gone. And past that, that's asking a lot of somebody.
Yeah.
At one position on the field. But that's where we've come to, because here's a guy that has not gotten it done and who has a losing record in the playoffs. And you have a guy that I think people are excited about, that if they get any inkling, the difference between Malik Willis and Jordan Love is, I don't think anybody in Green Bay really wanted to see Jordan Love.
No.
They wanted Aaron Rodgers to say, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
This case is the exact opposite of that, which is a tough spot if you're Ryan Tannehill. All he can do is go play the best he can for 60 minutes every week. And I do think he's going to play well this year. I just think that's going to be good for them to then maybe get value out of him after the season.
Yeah. The question, when it comes down to whether it's Tannehill this year or not, next year or not, goes to, I think the record does matter. It also goes to if the Titans are at a point to where you ask yourself, are we ready for a hard reset? And in that, too, you got to look at the fact of what is Malik gonna be able to do as far as developing. I know he's a team guy. His teammates love him. But again, as Schaefer pointed out just a second ago, too, like his offense that he ran at Liberty wasn't a detailed, in-depth type of offense. And maybe that's what they have to do as far as the NFL goes, too. Look, we're going to keep this simple. In times, most like hard parts of the season for teams, coaches that have like offenses that are stagnant, the first thing they say, well, let's go back to making it simple. That's what you do. You make it simple. Maybe they should do that for him. But I'll say this too. If you're asking for Malik, you're asking for a reset. You're asking almost for a rebuild in a sense. And if you look at the way it's set up, you got left tackle that got to be decided after this year or two, whether you're going to extend him out. You got a left guard who's going to end up having a new starter this year, or maybe a guy that's a new-ish. You got a center you got to decide on after this year also. You got a right guard that you got to decide if you're going to extend him out as far as the contract goes. And you may have Dylan Radins as a young guy on the offensive line too. You got to see if you're going to re-sign Austin Hooper. You got a young wide receiver in Traylon Burks. You got Bobby Trees, who's a veteran. You got a running back that in Derrick Henry you got to make a decision on after this year if you're going to give him an extension or pay him. But behind him, you got Hassan Haskins. Now, you say to yourself, is Malik Willis in a position in which he's going to be successful in an offense with this much of an overturn, and also Todd Downing being his OC too? Like, these are questions that you got to ask yourself. And if that is the case, you're saying, look, we're going to build around Malik, but what is that going to look like? Is that saying you're going to be just below 500, above 500? The question is, if you do exchange Tannehill for Malik Willis, then is this a better team, or you just like the quarterback better? Meaning we don't know how good Malik is going to be. Again, he's not going to get that many reps. He can practice all he wants to, but I also saw backup quarterbacks get a lot of practice reps that weren't quite ready for game day decisions. Again, is he Joe Burrow? Don't know. Is he Josh Allen? Don't know. Is he Justin Herbert? Don't know. Is he Kyler Murray? Don't know. But one thing that we did know about those guys, they were certified first rounders. They had a pedigree, and they played a type of ball that says they can do this at a higher level. Not dismissing Malik and his ability, but if you're asking for him to be the quarterback after this year, then there needs to be a whole lot of live reps and growth from him, considering the fact that Tannehill can get the job done. Again, you're asking yourself, man, do we want to get rid of Tannehill simply because he hadn't taken us to glory as far as the Super Bowl goes? And you got to look yourself in the face and say, well, Aaron Rodgers hadn't did it consistently. That's Dak hadn't done it yet. Okay, there's a few other quarterbacks that haven't been in that position. They have a whole lot more stock in the league. And you're asking a young guy in year 2 to replace Ryan Tannehill and lead you to glory, and I don't know what that glory looks like.
I don't either. I just think that the chances this team's about to tear it back down to the root are very good. All the questions you just asked, they could all be answered in one direction, and that could be future, not the present.
At least on one side of the ball.
At least on one side, yeah. I'm not dismissing it, but that's
and I'm
a
not
big
even saying
ask.
Willis will be ready. I'm saying eventually you got to put him out there, or you're never going to put him out there. Like eventually you've got to give him the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because Joe Burrow's first season didn't go great. He got hurt.
Oh,
You saw flashes of it, but you didn't see it. Trevor had to start as a rookie. We don't know yet. Zach Wilson started as a rookie. We don't know yet. All of this stuff, for the most part, most of these quarterbacks, it takes time. Like eventually you've got to put them in there or not. So are you going to rip the Band-Aid off and make this thing ugly if you have to for a little while to let Malik Willis run? Look, I got a list after the break, after the headlines that speaks to Willis without Willis directly, which is an ESPN list that came out this morning in association with Pro Football Focus, ranking NFL second-year breakout candidates for 2022. There's a Titan on that list, and he's a guy that would qualify to explain why you have to put somebody out there early. It's Jay Martin and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. What I love about Genesis Diamonds, not just obviously the store itself and how just you walk in there, you're just overwhelmed, but great people who really care, not clerks, diamond experts that aren't on commission. Top-notch quality, real, rare, precious diamonds, nothing inferior, unbeatable selection, unlike any other jeweler. The stuff they reject ends up in a lot of these other stores. Zero pressure environment, still maybe my favorite part, but also the value, the prices. You get a bigger, better diamond for less. Nobody can beat their prices. This is why Genesis is such a disruptor in the jewelry industry. They are the category killer. Remember, Genesis Diamonds was started by former diamond wholesalers and diamond cutters, connections that go back for decades. Genesis's owner is actually a member of the largest diamond exchange overseas, so that gives him access others just don't have to the very best. And Genesis has big-time buying power. They're a diamond powerhouse, so you can't get closer to the source, and what that means is unbeatable value for you. They're not going to be unsold on GIA-certified diamonds. Their price guarantee is not just local, it covers the entire nation. So get the deal you deserve on your diamond, as I did at Genesis Diamonds. Also now with an expanded selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches, all the hard-to-find models. Check them out, Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
7:03. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. Australia's Cameron Smith carded 5 straight birdies to start the back 9. He shot an 8 under 64 final round to rally from a 4-stroke deficit and win the 150th Open Championship.
Probably one of the best fields in golf, if not the best field in golf, and to get away with the win there definitely was a bit of a confidence booster, but I don't know. It's going to be tough to beat this one, I think.
Nationals defeated the Braves 7-3 in the final game before the All-Star break. Atlanta enters the break 2.5 games behind the Mets in the NL East, but in firm command of the first wild card spot. Major League Baseball draft yesterday, former Vanderbilt ace Kumar Rocker, who was selected by the Mets in the first round last season only to go unsigned because of medical concerns, was selected 3rd overall by the Texas Rangers. Vanderbilt's Spencer Jones, 25th overall to the Yankees. Tennessee's Drew Gilbert, 28th overall to the Houston Astros. LAFC defeated Nashville SC 2-1 at Geodis Park last night. And SEC Media Days begin today at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. 3HL will broadcast live from there through Thursday, presented by Brentwood Hearing Center. Brian Kelly, Lane Kiff, and Eli Drinkowitz all speaking today. For our Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour 2, J Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. What's happening? Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin here with you at J Martin Ramon. We'll go with that on Twitter. Peter Burns has a mustache. I didn't know that. What's he doing? I imagine there's a reason for that. Maybe it's Ted Lasso or something, because it's interesting. SEC this morning right now. I'm seeing that. Of course, SEC Media Days beginning today. We'll talk to Bill Bender about all things college football.
Our crew's driving down there right now.
Hey,
They are indeed.
on the road.
All right, so we were talking about Tannehill. Actually, let's get Swab Zombie's call first, see what he's got. Zombie, what's up?
What's up, Swab?
Good morning, players.
What's up?
What is going on?
Good morning.
I have one question, but first, we got Tannehill for 3 more years, guys. He's going to have a ball-out season. I know last year was down, especially the playoff game, which is what everybody wants and J-Mart requires. But I mean, we still got to take into consideration that a makeshift line, offensive coordinator, play calling. Okay. He had one of those seasons, all right? He did lose us that game. If he played one interception less better, we win that game.
Mm-hmm.
But he is woken up. He has been awakened. We get to see his best season this year, even though we have more of a makeshift line. I think our play calling will be more stable, and he's in a mindset of, like, no excuses, okay? So having said that, the real question that I still wonder, I think many of us do, is exactly how much money did you lose? J-Mart, what did you bet on that game? Was it your soul? I just wanted to let you know, man, you keep me up at night, and I pray for you.
I appreciate it. I don't gamble, so 0. All I know is if you don't have a quarterback that can get you to the Super Bowl, then you're constantly looking for one. And a fan base is constantly looking for one. And it's hard not to, until you see otherwise, wonder what the ceiling is for Ryan Tannehill. And we took all the phone calls for weeks and months about Ryan Tannehill. So those are still the topics that are on the brain of virtually every Titans fan as we enter the season. I think he's going to come back and have a really good year. I've said that several times. I don't think he's going to go out there and not be good. I just don't think it matters until he gets to the playoffs because of last year, because that game changed how you feel about Tannehill. Most likely, if you didn't believe in him, then that just gave you more reason not to believe him. If you believed in him, I think it gave you a bit of a reason to crack that foundation to some degree. It was such an important game for him because he had the opportunity to rewrite the book on him as opposed to just re-releasing the same book. And so far, we just have a re-release. Cousin Joey, what's up?
What's up, Joe?
Morning, fam. So, I think I'm going to hold reserve judgment on this season on Tannehill, and here's the reason why, and there's two reasons. One, last year he didn't have a tight end, and they brought one in this year. Hooper, might have not done anything when he was with Cleveland, but, y'all all seen and I heard what he did in Atlanta. And then the second part is that they brought in Tim Kelly for the passing game coordinator. And from what forgive me if I don't remember if y'all said this or who I heard it from, but Tim Kelly loves tight ends as much as Arthur Smith does. So I foresee Tannehill now has another safety blanket like he did in Jonnu and an actual tight end.
Okay.
All right.
I thought you had two. I guess that was it.
This is interesting to me as far as Tannehill goes. And no, we're not trying to flame the fire as far as this goes to create a topic. To me, it's sustainability of a team for the long run. We've seen quarterbacks throw 5 picks. We've seen quarterbacks throw numerous just dumb, just silly things. But let's not forget, like, this is an entire complete game, and we love guys that take risk when it comes down to playing a position, whether it's defensive end, dropping in coverage when they're not supposed to, or quarterback trying to thread the needle to make a play here or there. I'd almost think like what Tannehill has done, is it that unforgivable? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I wrote down in my notes. Like, 3 interceptions, is it not forgivable? And I know the circumstance in the situation kind of painted itself a little bit too, but it's been pointed out before on this show and on other shows and just across the sports world as what about going for 2 instead of kicking the field goal? What about that situation? Also, well, what about the defense not being able to cover Jamar Chase when you needed them to also? Like, it's 3 faces of the game: special teams, offense, and defense. And I throw in their coaching decisions too. Like, say what you want to, Tannehill was able to do his thing. But let's also look at the quarterback. I mean, the play calling. Why would you continue to give the ball to Derrick Henry in that game on his first game back when it took him time after time after time? How come there was no adjustment made to say, hey, let's go with the hot hand? Because I feel like if you run that ball down Cincinnati's throat, then the outcome is very favorable for the Titans. Like, to me, I feel like that's a coaching mistake. That's at the top of the decision-making mistake right there.
I agree. All those things are right. Like, I hated the 2-point call. Hated it. Didn't understand why you would do it. Didn't understand why we didn't see more of Deontay Foreman. There were plenty of things. I didn't understand why you got inside the 20-yard line and started trying to throw the football all of a sudden.
Come on.
Like, you ran the ball with Foreman all the way down the field, and you got inside the red zone and stopped running the ball, and then immediately threw it to it was Hilton.
Mike Hilton.
Like,
why call that play again?
I mean, the truth of the matter is this: Tannehill threw 3 interceptions, and only one of them matters. The only reason the other 2 are talked about is because of the third one.
Mm-hmm.
If we're being really brass tacks about it, if he doesn't throw the third one, I still believe Tennessee wins that football game. But he threw the third one. That's the problem. The problem is he did throw it. If he didn't, I can't do if he didn't, because he did.
Yeah.
Because I sat there and watched him, and I watched him throw to a guy who's like, I don't know if I'm throwing that guy in that moment. You saw that critique from a lot of people. It's like, there you got to get it to AJ. You got to find a way to get it to your guy, because when Joe needed it, Jamar got it.
And see, this is the thing that Danny Teep put it in his own chat. It's like, this could be the problem too. Titan scheme, give the ball to Derrick Henry. Like, that's neglectful to me too.
Oh, I agree.
Like, your job as a coach is to protect the players, put the team in the best position, and develop that team into to moving forward and being better. Why could you not put your pride to the side and say, you know what, Derrick, we'll try this again next week, but we need to win this game right now? Deontay Foreman could have at least, like, imagine the rest of the game that way. We spoke about all of this, and I'll admit, we bought into this, Jay. Derrick's coming back. The whole night, all of this was beautiful. But you as a coaching staff, You can't buy into what we want.
Well, what I don't like is when I see Downing was the issue. It's like, no, look, there were multiple issues. Tannehill didn't play well, okay? Whatever you want to talk about the scheme, even the throw AJ caught, that was a ridiculous play by AJ Brown.
Silly, crazy.
That should have been an interception on its own right. That's probably not a ball you're supposed to throw, but AJ Brown made him look smart in the moment. So here's the thing. Everybody wants to go after Downing. Why don't you go after the head coach if you want to go there? Like, yeah, Downing's your OC, but who ultimately gets to make the decision? It's Mike Vrabel, right? Who made the 2-point call? That's probably Vrabel.
Let's go for 2 because they'll go to the coach.
Who's the one that could have been like, why is 22 out there so much? Foreman's playing well. Can we get 7 back in the game?
Yeah.
Who's responsible for that? Last I checked, that's the head coach. If Bill Belichick wanted Deontay Foreman on the field and not Derrick Henry, I promise you Deontay Foreman would have been on the field. I don't give a crap what Josh McDaniels would have had to say about it in the past.
You go with the hot hand. That's, again, you're right. Tannehill, he won't live this down because it's already happened and we're talking about it always. But your position as a coach is to put the best players out there to win the game. We'll get to Derrick next week if we survive. And it looked like they were able to survive with Foreman running the ball at the rate that he did.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of hindsight after the one loss you couldn't have if you were the Tennessee Titans that game against the Bengals. When we come back, we'll talk to Bill Bender, SEC Media Days beginning. Have things slowed on the change front when it comes to teams moving? Is Big Ten now going to hold pat? All of those things we'll come back and chat about with Bill here, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, so if plumbing's not right, then things are not right at your house. We had a tall toilet put in a few days ago, and I'm not sure that we had a toilet before that because a tall toilet was a game changer for us. Whatever it is that you need from a plumbing perspective, Lee Company's got you covered. They do drain services. They can handle low-flow faucets. They can figure out if you've got leaks, trenchless pipe replacement, water heaters, and more. Real plumbing experts. When you call Lee Company and you say, I got a plumbing issue, it's a plumbing expert. It's not just a Lee Company employee that knows everything about everything. No, these are specialized in their field kind of folks. These are plumbers, master plumbers, who come out from Lee Company to make sure that all of your home needs are taken care of. And right now, you heard me mention water heaters, tankless water heaters, endless hot water at your fingertips. Right now is not the biggest thing for you because of the temperature outside, but it's going to become one. How about a really good time to go ahead and take advantage of this? $750 off a tankless water heater with the purchase of a recirculation system. Really good deal on something that if you've never experienced it before, you'll wonder how you survived without it. $750 off a tankless water heater with the purchase of a recirc system. Lee Company is definitely all you need. The telephone number is 615-567-1000, or you can go to leecompany.com/promotions. Get all the information that you need. Again, 615-567-1000 for Lee Company, all you need. Welcome back. J. Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone here. Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, and Jason Martin. SEC Media Days beginning today at the College Football Hall of Fame. Who's talking today? You've got Brian Kelly. You got Drinkwitz. Who else, Schaefer?
Lane.
Okay, well, you got Drinkwitz and Lane, and then you've got the chance of Brian Kelly to try an accent.
Going to try the Cajun again?
He should just bring a food truck and start handing out po' boys.
Yeah, something, right?
Yeah.
That's
And
exactly
Dewey all
right.
over the place.
And Dewey.
Whatever it is he can get his hands on.
Gator.
To the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, our pals on the line. Bill, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. So what are you watching watching for at SEC Media Days? Who do you expect to be the stars? And we kind of already probably know, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lane and Drinkwitz today, I mean, they're obviously two that will they're quotable anyway. And, I think BK will be just fine. I'm not down there this year, but we've got our other editor, Bill Trocchi, down there. But it's normally I tell people, like, you build it up and then nobody really says anything, and we'll see. I mean, obviously enough's been said between Jimbo and Nick Saban this year that I don't think too much is going to be said that really moves the needle, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I saw Bill Conley at ESPN put out this morning an SEC preview where he's just like, hey, we're about to play this game again where Tennessee has high expectations. And that's always dangerous. And he mentions that the last 8 times that they've begun the season ranked, which is the expectation, 4 times they've had an outright losing record. The other 4, they've underperformed those expectations. But then he gets to his 10 favorite players in the conference, and the only quarterback he mentions is Hendon Hooker. So what do you think about the expectations? Is Tennessee actually ready to step up to this moment?
Well, and what are those expectations, though? I mean, is
second in the East, maybe?
A second in the East is reasonable to me. It's definitely reasonable. I mean, between 9-3 and 10-2 is not out of the question because they have Hendon Hooker, a guy that, in our quarterback list last week, we have him in the top 5. And I know he's kind of polarizing because I read some other quarterback lists that had him much lower. But, I mean, I just trust the numbers. The 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a second year in Josh Heupel's offense, which has been quarterback friendly since he played at Oklahoma. He was a very efficient quarterback there. So I think all of those things are in Tennessee's favor. I don't think they're going to have a losing season. I think a disappointing season for Tennessee would be a 7-5.
Mm-hmm. I saw your quarterback list too, and it was very intriguing on where some of the quarterbacks were listed on it. The first one I have on this list is Quinn Ewers. You had him at 21 out of 25, and as much hype as he had, what really placed him in that 21st out of 25 position?
Well, I mean, it makes it tough because he hasn't won. So, but if he did, guys, going to be in an offense that has Xavier Worthy on the perimeter. He's a second-team All-American, preseason All-American. Is Bijan Robinson, a first-team preseason All-American. They're going to score a ton of points.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think his arm talent and those kind of things, we haven't seen him play. But, that was a speculative pick. And I did the same thing last year with C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. It was hard to I think I had C.J. Stroud in the teens and Bryce Young around number 9. And now granted, that's different given the offenses that are around those guys. But, when there's a guy like that that's been written and talked about enough like yours, we haven't seen him play other than a spring game, but I still think he'll be pretty good if he starts.
Okay, and on the other side of that, these next 2 guys, man, and the first one for sure, Will Levis, who is either a top 5 draft pick or he's 20th on your list, and I can understand that. But then the other guys new to the SEC, Spencer Rattler, you have him at 15. What's the parallels between those 2 as far as, I guess you say, how lower they're kind of rated a little bit on your list?
Well, I think Will Levis is a guy that NFL scouts, and you look at some mock drafts, and he's anywhere from first day 3. And that's always – I thought last year he got off to a fantastic start. He had a rough stretch there in the middle of the season. But he played well in big games. He played well against Georgia, even though they lost. If you go back and watch that game, he was great. And then Spencer Rattler, is the most talented quarterback South Carolina's had in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I know he lost his starting job last year, but he was really efficient in that offense. He can run. I think a fresh start was in order for him, and he'll pair well in Shane Beamer's offense. There's another team that went 7-6 last year, and if you looked at their quarterback situation, they've started 3 different guys, including a graduate assistant coach that they had to pull off the bench to play.
So when you look at to that point then, who did a better job last year? Because I think they're both kind of looked at similarly. They're both looked at as rising stars who really succeeded in a tough spot in maybe jobs that weren't so sought after at the time, even though they both have great fan bases in Tennessee and South Carolina. Do you think Beamer or Heupel did a better job, considering Heupel at least did figure out his quarterback spot and South Carolina was scrambling all year long?
I think on the field, probably Beamer going 7-6, but I would say off the field, Heupel, because of what he inherited at Tennessee and where that program was. And I mean, we talked about it all the time on your show. I mean, messy, losing season, all of the things that happened with Jeremy Pruitt. Heupel comes in, a lot of not ton of excitement or fanfare when he got hired. So I would say, but on the field with juggling the quarterbacks and being able to go out and beat Auburn and Florida and make Williams-Brice a tough place to play, I would probably go Beamer.
What do you think about Napier and Florida? We haven't really discussed them, which is odd when you're talking about the SEC East, but it kind of makes sense. What are your feelings on the Gators right now?
I think he'll do a really nice job. You look at the last 3 years at Louisiana, they have one of the best win-loss records of any team in the country. Billy Napier does. Very high winning percentage, did well with their quarterback. I'm interested to see what he does with Florida's quarterbacks, including Anthony Richardson. Do they, does he become a more efficient quarterback and avoid the turnovers like Levi Lewis did at Louisiana? So I definitely think Billy Napier will do a nice job there. It's always tough in year one. It's going to be tough in week one. They've got a very good Utah team coming to the Swamp.
Bill Bender of Sporting News here with us, Moan.
Bill, the question I have for you is, I think the SEC is still 2 schools, man, Georgia and Alabama. Just where those 2 programs are right now. Is Georgia actually above Alabama at this point, considering you have Nick Saban kind of a little chatty as of lately, man, when it comes down to the college football world?
No, I don't think they're. I mean, they're technically they are, because they're the defending national champs, and you're that till somebody beats you. But I think Alabama's still fine. They had 10 guys in the top 50 on a lot of big boards. They had 5 guys on our preseason All-American list, including the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young, and the best overall player maybe in the country, and Will Anderson. They split last year too. So I still think Alabama's the program. Now, as recruiting and NIL evolves and Nick Saban heads toward retirement, whenever that is, that could change because Kirby's built a monster. But I think when you see the preseason predictions come out here in a couple days at SEC Media Day, that Alabama will still be the team that everybody picks to win.
Most everybody, Bill, that you see that's doing any kind of, here's where these teams are right now, have 3 teams well above everybody else: Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, in some order, 1 through 3. So that being the backdrop, how hard did you laugh when Nick Saban, who I love, Nick Saban suggested that college football's always been about competitive balance, and the new way things are being done is going to wreck that competitive balance? I tell you what, man, Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are 3 names you don't usually see every year. It's definitely a sport of parity.
It is not, obviously. A lot of the things he says about NIL and collectives aren't wrong. And, college football is better when there's maybe 10 to 12 teams that can win it all. But right now we're just not in that case. I do think that super conferences and, that we're inching toward, if we went to that model, I think it would make the game better. I think if we expand the playoff, it'll make the game better. And you get a true national champion. Like I would always tell people, we don't debate who wins the Super Bowl. You may debate a call inside the game, but once somebody's holding up that trophy, there's no debate about who wins the NFL. I mean, we've had that before the BCS. We had it during the BCS. We've had UCF claim a national title during the playoff era. So, but the problem to me is the same. It's mentioning those three teams. It's the fact that 6 schools have 25 to 32 playoff appearances. I mean, when you have that, you don't have parity.
Mm-hmm. Does Will Anderson actually need a Heisman campaign this year? I mean, if he doesn't win it, who do you have as your top guy to go get it? One of his teammates, perhaps?
I think Bryce Young and CJ Stroud will be heavy favorites. I mean, I would watch a guy like Jackson Smith-Jigba at Ohio State if he has a monster year. I mean, he's a unicorn at receiver. He's unbelievable. And he had somewhere in the neighborhood, I don't have the number in front of me. I was looking at it the other day. I believe it was an 84% catch percentage on his targets.
Wow.
He's just automatic to throw the football to, and I think he could have a monster year. But Will Anderson, I mean, it's tough for defensive players to win it. He would have to duplicate last year's stats pretty much, and maybe even a little more.
Mm-hmm. One question, one topic we were talking about earlier was Malik Willis. In your study of just college football, man, just how ready could a guy like him be in a year as far as being an NFL head coach or NFL offensive coordinator? The one knock that he had coming out was, of course, the offense he had at Liberty. What did you actually view him as at Liberty University?
Malik Willis is pretty good. A guy that I think, he had big numbers, did well in Hugh Freeze's offense, had a good season. I didn't, and then I watched his pro day. I mean, all of the tools are there. I didn't know he would slide a little bit there in the draft, but I mean, because all the prognosticators' projections had him being the first quarterback taken. But I think he'll be an interesting player, more interesting to me than Kenny Pickett. Not saying he'll be better, just because I want to see how Malik Willis does do in the preseason ahead of, when he might get his first start. And that might be a while.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hope it is. Like you just want him. You don't want him to be rushed into a bad situation. You want him to feel ready and comfortable by the time he gets out there. You being in Ohio, Bill, what's been the response from the state? Just anybody that you've encountered with Baker finally getting out of there and the Browns. I mean, the Browns situation, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like until the Deshaun thing is fully figured out, probably over the next 2 weeks. But just Baker and the way that saga ended. Was there sympathy for him on the way out the door? What's the general feeling up there?
I mean, this is just Cleveland, another quarterback bungling the situation, so to speak. I think.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, Deshaun knocked. Bill, you with us? I think we just lost Bill.
Oh yeah, that's
it was
what
near
I
the
was
end
thinking.
of the segment, so that's okay.
That's what I was thinking when he was about to say what he was about to say, Jason.
Yeah.
You're right. The Texans are listening to Nashville radio right now, decided to knock us off.
That was near the end of the segment anyway. That was that was the final question. So SEC Media Days are happening. It is interesting, this Connolly piece about the SEC East entering Media Days, burning questions, favorite players, and projections. And so when he goes through the top 10 players, Hendon Hooker's the first one that he mentions in this list, and Cedric Tillman's an honorable mention. But you want to see Petty. The last burning question is, when might Vanderbilt show a pulse again? All right, I think we got Bill back. We can get this answer this question before we let him go. All right, Bill, back to that Baker Mayfield question in just the state of Ohio.
Yeah, and like I said, there was a resignation about him leaving. I think most Cleveland fans are very nervous because if this Deshaun Watson trade doesn't work out, they're going. I mean, all of the quarterback failures they've had since 1998 will seem small compared to this one. But I think once Watson gets on the field, whenever that is, he's going to be part of a talented offense. And then in the short term, of course, once they trade Baker Mayfield, who's on the schedule in Week 1? Baker Mayfield in Carolina. So there'll be a lot of attention on that game.
So you being the 80s movie buff that you are, it's hard not to mention Top Gun Maverick right now that it's made $1 billion. I assume you've seen it. I assume you like it because I don't know anyone that didn't like it.
You know what? We're going this week. And
okay.
I know it's hard to believe that I haven't seen it, but between running through softball fields, we're actually in Niagara Falls now. We had a lacrosse tournament this weekend up here, which was amazing, and getting to see Niagara Falls for the first time. So yeah, I've been doing all this. I think this week is the week I'm finally going to get out to see it. I've heard nothing but good reviews. I can't wait. I haven't heard one of my buddies or friends say, "Man, that movie was terrible."
Yeah, that's because you have good friends, Bill. No one's gonna lie to you. We appreciate the time, brother, as always. We'll catch up with you a little bit closer to the season.
Hey, no problem. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah,
Take
man,
care.
that's Bill of the Sporting News, Bill Bender.
Yeah.
At Bill Bender 92, I believe, is where you can find him on Twitter. Yeah, you got to see Top Gun if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it multiple times, even Schaefer, man. Schaefer was waiting to find a way to crap on it. He was just like, I can't believe how good it was.
Strong. That's a little.
I mean, you're not Arnie Spanier or somebody like that. You're not Skip Bayless about it, but you weren't expecting it to be that good even after I told you it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Not that good.
Yeah.
That's right. 615-737-1045. Again, though, the last question asked by Connolly in this piece. When might Vanderbilt show a pulse again? Ouch.
No, they got a lot of cash going to the department to build it up, but is that going to jumpstart it?
So we're talking about Malik Willis, and we were talking about reps and getting him in there, and is he going to be ready and all this other kind of stuff. And I said there are certainly cases made to let them go through something. Like eventually you have to put him out there, or why did you take him in the first place? And I don't mean now, I mean next year. Obviously, if he's totally not ready, then no. But if he shows the things that you want to see in terms of growth, then I think he's your guy next year on the field. So ESPN put out a list this morning associated with Pro Football Focus, affiliated with them. NFL's second-year breakout candidates for 2022. 15 players who could become stars. There's a Titan on the list, and I think it backs up why you get Malik in there at some point early next year and you hand him the keys, even though it's going to be rocky, obviously, because it always is, because you got to get through those rocky times. We'll tell you who that is when we come back. It's Jay Martin and Mel, 104.5 The Zone.
If it seems like things are hard these days, like to get anything, well, I've got some good news for you, because there's still one thing that's easy, and that's buying a vehicle from Two Rivers Ford. No matter how you like to shop, Two Rivers Ford is there to make it happen for you. So if you know exactly what kind of Ford you want, Two Rivers Ford will custom order it for you and deliver it to you when it gets manufactured. Or if you have an idea, but you're not quite sure what you want, you can reach out to their non-commissioned sales team, and they'll stay on the lookout for you and contact you when a vehicle that might works for you arrive in stock. And don't forget this also, Two Rivers Ford always sells below MSRP on all new non-specialty vehicles. So you can rest assured you're getting the best price. So when it comes to finding a vehicle, call Two Rivers Ford and let them do the work for you. Nothing better than that. It's toll-free, 800-900-1000. That's right. The number is 1-800-900-1000. Put Two Rivers Ford on your team today.
Buck Rising Split Happens Bowling Bash is Wednesday. Join us for a fun night of bowling as our Buck Rising hosts his Split Happens Bowling Bash at Brooklyn Bowl, Nashville. Special guests will be there as well. Proceeds benefiting the church at Mount Carmel's Youth Summer Camp. Get your tickets at 1045thezone.com.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer, and thanks to Mr. Bender, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, for joining us. If you missed any of that or any other part of the show, podcast is wherever you get those podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that. Ranking NFL second-year breakout candidates for 2022. 15 players who could become stars from quarterbacks to pass rushers. We're talking about Malik Willis. Nobody's expecting him to start this year. No one should expect him to start this year. If he does, something's gone terribly wrong, most likely. But I do think expecting and hoping that he's ready to start next year is where a lot of Titans fans find themselves right now. And eventually you got to put these guys out there, or why did you draft them? Like, if you drafted him, eventually you were expecting him to play at some point, you would assume, unless you drafted him to be a backup. And I don't think that's the case here. But the guys they mentioned, Trevor Lawrence is obvious, second year. Christian Barmore is number 2, the Patriots defensive tackle, who's the 38th pick overall. And they say even the greatest D tackle in history, Aaron Donald, had 44 pressures as a rookie, and then he had double that in the 7 seasons since. So Barmore had 48 as a rookie. But you would assume more than that, or hope for more than that. Elijah Moore with the Jets is number 3. J.C. Horn, cornerback of the Panthers, is 4. He got hurt, but it looked good before he got hurt. Rashad Bateman with the Ravens. They need him. He's number 5.
You know what's that kind of aggravating about this list? We spoke about all these receivers we wish the Titans had got last year.
That's right. Kwity Paye, the edge for the Colts, number 6.
High on
him. Number 7, Sam Cosmi, tackle with the Commanders. It was drafted 51 overall. Trey Lance is 8. Kelvin Joseph is 9 with the Dallas Cowboys cornerback. Alan McNeil, the defensive tackle for the Lions, who was drafted 72, is number 10. Number 11, Elijah Molden.
Wow.
Pick number 100. This right here is where I think you can make the comparison to Willis. Was Molden ready when he started?
No.
He got exposed in a few of his early games.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, what were people saying about Elijah Molden?
He's coming on.
He's showing a lot. You like what you're seeing from Elijah Molden.
Yep.
You need to apply that to quarterbacks as much as you don't want to. As much as you want everybody to come out of the gates and be Joe Burrow. Well, Joe Burrow got hurt and had a losing record. Peyton Manning won 2 games as a rookie.
Yeah.
Very rarely does it go the other way. So if Malik Willis this year, I'm not saying he gets out this is not a case for me saying this year. This is a case for if he shows you enough to think he can potentially be your guy, then you've got to let him potentially be your guy next year. If it comes down to another season where you fell short of what you believe the expectations for your organization should be. And I do think at this point, as a Titans fan or somebody in that organization, your expectations should be as high as everybody else. You're not the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
You're not the Detroit Lions. You're not one of those teams where, boy, if you make the playoffs, that's a heck of a year.
Yeah.
We're past that because you've done that enough. So I think that Molden and guys like Molden was called into action because of injury mainly.
Yeah.
He was going to be out there some, but nowhere near as much as you saw him. But because you saw him that much, he's ahead of the curve, and now he's going into the second year as a guy that I think most Titans fans are excited to have on this roster and feel like is going to be able to contribute. I know the quarterback is a much different position. I also think you have to start to view young quarterbacks in this manner.
Yeah. Speaking of young quarterbacks, 2018 Josh Allen was drafted. He was active for 12 games, started 11. His rookie year in 2018, the Buffalo Bills was 6-10. That was a win-loss, 6-10. So as far as, the overall aspect of a quarterback needing time, or it's not just going to be perfect, he's going to go through something. The next year for Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, full starting year, 10-6. And we know what he did last year and the year before that too. So given time, it could be good for him. But he's got to get some reps. And you as a fan base, can we be honest about that? Have to be patient with whatever you ask of him while he's out there. Like it's 6-10 for Josh Allen, and the next year 10-6. I feel like wasn't that close to the same record for Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, even though he went down. I mean, Kyler Murray kind of gone, like all of them is again, asking for Malik is asking for a reset too. Offensively, you're not stacked enough, I don't think, to actually just throw them into the fire and say, yes, we got 4 receivers. We got to run. You do have running backs, but the offensive line is set, tight end is set. Like, there's still a lot of questions surrounding that could be answered this year. The offensive line, I hope, is answered this year.
Yeah, that remains the biggest question. When we come back out of the headlines, another piece of the 33rd team that's interesting, to your point about Josh Allen, redrafting the first round of the 2018 NFL draft, which was a big-time draft for quarterbacks and everywhere else. Very interesting, and I love what they have for the Titans. Utterly hilarious. And what they have for the Steelers. Also very funny. So we'll go through that and have some fun. It's Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, I want to talk to you about Mortgage Investors Group. You know renting, if you've done renting, and you're probably ready to stop doing it because you probably have done renting and now you are done renting or you want to. Rent's continuing to rise at the fastest pace in decades. Average increase is 21% right here in our backyard in Nashville year over year. So you're paying the landlord's mortgage. You're not paying your own. You're not creating any equity. You're not investing in your financial future. You're just slowly helping out a landlord. If you're ready, talk to the experts at Mortgage Investors Group. Apartment living, you're probably over that as well. Constantly worried about stuff being too loud for you or for somebody else. You're dealing with maybe my parking spot's not going to be there tonight, maintenance being in your home. So stop sending payments to your landlord's pocketbook. Put them to work for you. Start thinking about owning your own home. Mortgage Investors Group is the Southeast's leading mortgage lender. They're going to get you the right home loan, not just anyone. They're going to get the one that actually works for you because they care about you. They're committed to making sure that you close on time, that your loan is structured the right way, that your home buying goals are a reality. See what their customers have to say about the MIG difference on Zillow. Over 2,600 people will tell you there is a difference when it comes to Mortgage Investors Group. Go to their website this morning, get everything going. MIGonline.com. That's MIGonline.com. Get the office nearest you there. Get all the information. Get the pre-qualification information there as well. Or you text MIG to 313-99. That's MIG to 313-99. You can get pre-qualified there too. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111.
It is 8 o'clock from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Australia's Cameron Smith won the 150th Open Championship. He carded 5 straight birdies to start the back 9, shooting an 8 under 64 final round to rally from a 4-stroke deficit. Nationals beat the Braves 7-3 yesterday in the final game before the All-Star break. Atlanta enters the break 2.5 games behind the Mets in the NL East, but in firm command right now of the first wild card spot. Major League Baseball draft yesterday. Former Vanderbilt ace Kumar Rocker, who was selected by the Mets in the first round last season, only to go unsigned and re-enter the draft, was selected 3rd overall by the Texas Rangers. Vanderbilt's Spencer Jones selected 25th overall by the Yankees. Tennessee's Drew Gilbert 28th overall by the Houston Astros. LAFC defeated Nashville SC 2-1 at Geodis Park. Gareth Bale made his MLS debut as a second-half substitute. And U.S. men's national team right back Shaq Moore is set to join the boys in gold in a reported $2 million transfer with his Spanish club. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Third hour. Hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio. Means we're halfway home is what that means, but we got 2 more hours with you. Looking forward to it. 3HL crew's on the way to SEC Media Days. Got an update from them. They're not there yet, but they're on the drive. They'll be with you, of course, this afternoon.
Apparently there's been breakfast shenanigans going on this morning.
Yeah. My breakfast shenanigans are there is no breakfast.
Uh-oh.
And they also saw a police bus this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know about that.
Yeah, they might have to document that, man.
Maybe in a Robert Kraft situation.
Excuse me?
Allegedly. Or was that
no, it
proven?
was. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was consensual because it was. We knew what was going on.
I don't know.
Everything's all right.
Now it is.
So back to the Molten Point real quickly, just about him being potential breakout candidate in year 2, according to ESPN's list of, I think it's 12 guys or 15 guys. Doesn't fit the prototype. He's 5'10", 190. He says he doesn't fit the prototype outside of kicker, but he always finds a football.
Wow.
At Washington, led all college slot cornerbacks with 30 defensive stops, 8 more than anybody else in college football. As a rookie last year, 12th most stops of any defender when lined up in the slot, despite playing just the 18th most snaps there. Because of safety, as a fame perspective thing, they say, yeah, it might not be a fame thing, but it's going to be impact for Titans fans.
Good.
And I would agree.
You know,
Bolden's not somebody we're worried about this year.
You know what you kind of get? You kind of almost get a Mike Hilton type situation. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what? You got something. You know what I'm saying? One of those really good role players that you can just say, yes, we're good at that position. We don't have to look much further. They can grow a little bit more in the team scheme and whatnot. Yeah, that's a beautiful place to be at. That just says you picked probably the best available person for your team that turns out to be a good fit for your squad. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good place to be at.
He's next to Kevin Byard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's a sponge. You remember that was another thing they spoke about with him too, wasn't he? A short arm guy.
Mm-hmm.
That was a conversation behind him and Roger McCreary kind of had that same conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It really goes to if you can ball, man.
Right.
Like there's no other way around it. Like you can knock a player as much as you want to. That comes up as far as the draft goes and contract negotiations.
Look, because we're talking about size and we're talking about Elijah Molden being prototype for a kicker, maybe, right? Because he's a little bit small and all this stuff. Yeah, Kennedy Chandler is too.
Come on, man.
But I believe in Kennedy Chandler. I think Kennedy Chandler can play in the NBA, and I want to see it. And I want to see him make a lot of people look stupid for not drafting him.
Yep.
And Elijah Molden went 100th. You want to talk about a value pick.
Yeah.
100th, and he's a guy that's a potential breakout candidate. A lot of these guys that are breakout candidates in his list are like 30th, 40th, guys like that. Elijah Molden's 11. Now, Brevin Jordan, a tight end with the Texans, was drafted 147. and he's on this list as well. So it's not always, but the last one on this list is Travis Etienne.
Yeah, forget about Travis. Yeah. Wow.
Didn't play a single snap because he had a Liz Frank in the preseason.
Sure did.
Now he goes to an offense that has a rudder, and it's not Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor's a rudder, but Doug Peterson.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be big. Well, I hope it ain't big for them considering they got to play against the Titans, but they went and reached for a guy like him to pair him up with a teammate. And the one thing that Trevor Lawrence needs is a great run support to kind of help his career a little bit and help him grow up. So I don't know what Jacksonville's going to be. I'm hopeful for them, just in the sense that it would be good to have some competition in the AFC South.
I want to go to that point because you just said that, and it just made me – I stopped and started thinking of something. I don't know how people feel about this out there. You're like, well, they're in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see all the teams in the South be good because it actually makes what you do matter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Titans fan and you win a South when the teams are good, then more people are taking notice across the league. Like AFC North, whoever wins that, usually it's talked about because Baltimore and Pittsburgh are always there, and Cincinnati now was there. NFC West last year. Whoever wins the AFC West this year, that's going to have been an accomplishment all itself. Like, I get that you want the best record you can have, but at the same time, I think you also want to be taken seriously as a division.
Yeah.
And you've got two teams right now that aren't. Like, if Jacksonville were able to go 9-8, and the Texans were able to go 7-10, or something like that, and look, that's not generally how it works out, but I think you want your whole division to be good, and you still just want to beat the brakes off them when you have the opportunity, have a couple tie breaks here and there. But I don't think you want it to just be it's the Patriots and the rest of the AFC East.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Because I'll be honest with you, on the outside looking in, as a player, you'd almost say, yeah, they won the South, but they got Jacksonville, they got the Texans. Like, those are conversations that happen. And let's even go towards the GOAT. Let's throw rocks at the GOAT, Tom Brady. Oh, man, what did he have? Like 17 AFC East championships, division championships? And, we kind of say, well, yeah, he's playing in the East. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you said about the Patriots. They did handle business against outside the conference opponents, but that conversation would come up, well, you're playing Buffalo, the Jets. That conversation happened.
I'm not saying you're going to be rooting for. I'm not saying as a Titans fan you should be rooting for Jacksonville and Houston to win. No, I'm saying that's the best situation you could find yourself in.
Yeah, for
sure. Is for them to be good, to be pretty good, so that your wins have relevance.
Let's say this too: the Derek MVP conversation. Where does he get his yards? The big chunk of his yards.
A lot of people talk about Jacksonville and Houston and how he's owned both of those teams.
Jacksonville and Houston. Now, it ain't his fault that they suck. I'm not going to minimize that at all. It's not their fault that they can't find ways to stop him when he's on the 1 yard line and he just mushes everybody in the face to run to a touchdown. He mushed one linebacker 2 times on the same run. Like, what are we doing here? So, but that conversation does come up as opposed to a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers that dices everybody apart and has Kirk Cousins in the NFC North, has Stafford over there. So you're like, okay, well, he's got somebody he's going up against.
Schaefer?
Here's the problem with the division thing that you were mentioning, and I think it's a good point. The problem is that with the Patriots and them going on to win Super Bowls, the narrative was the Patriots were beating them down. To where the narrative, if the Colts or the Titans win, is that the rest of the division is mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
That's the changes of narratives here. If you're a Titans fan, you don't care if those teams win a single game other than it helps you in tiebreakers.
Well, look, some people disagree
on.
with me. I asked a question. I didn't know. I just feel like if you got to the end of the season and everybody in your division was good and you won it, that would be something. It would be something. Now, if you go win the Super Bowl, it's different. But if you're not winning the Super Bowl, then at least having won a division that matters, a division that is relevant in that way, a division where everybody's good and where you had to pack a lunch every week and all this other stuff. And I don't mean everybody gets paid, so every game's tough in the NFL. I mean not playing against the dregs of society on a regular basis. Jacksonville had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row. You've got Davis Mills at quarterback. Maybe it'll be something, but that was a dumpster. That was the worst run organization in professional sports for the last couple of years with Bill O'Brien and everything that went on with Deshaun and all of this mess that went on down there. I would prefer not to play in a division with that level of dumpster fire, I guess is what I'm saying.
100%. Well, I'll say this. I see a comment that said no one looks back at a run a team makes and win a division says, yeah, but the teams they played weren't good. It does happen. It does. And maybe, I'll be honest with you, maybe it was seeking comfort on our end, okay? Maybe it was, well, let's maximize how we look versus what they look like. It's like saying, well, the team only gave up 20 sacks on the year. Well, that's because they slide protection this way. Well, that's because they group protect instead of doing one-on-ones. You do those things in sport to make yourselves feel better. We call it essentially seeking comfort. Well, you know what? He went first round, but he played against lesser opponents. Well, you know what? We played in the SEC. You know, it's one of those things. Well, we play in the SEC.
Right.
That's a comment that you can make. I remember distinctly us playing against the Patriots numerous times. And just the idea of, well, when we play them later in the season, we're probably going to be beat up a little bit more because they play in the East and they got an easy streak on the way to winning their division. Of course they're going to get the first round bye. Why? Because they're playing in the AFC East and they see no opponents. Meanwhile, we will play Baltimore. Cincinnati is going to be a fight. Even the Cleveland Browns will be a fight. And you say, well, our path to winning is a little bit harder. Again, I'll admit, maybe it's seeking comfort. Maybe it's to make us feel better about what we did, or made us feel better about losing than it did by saying, well, they just straight up beat us. That's a part of the game too. Find ways to get yourself over the hump as far as what your opponent did versus what you did. Those conversations happen. The East, for years, Patriots winning their division, automatic playoff bid.
And look, you would hear that. You would hear that in media circles. You would hear that a lot. Anybody that wasn't a Patriots fan would always say, yeah, we can win AFC East as well. That would happen every year. The difference was the Patriots then went on deep runs with the greatest quarterback of all time and won Super Bowls.
Not knocking it.
That's the thing. They proved their worth because of what they did outside of the division.
Yeah.
Not what inside the division, they demoralized a bunch of teams. And there's something to be said for doing that as well. But in this case, this isn't even demoralizing. This is horribly run organizations in Jacksonville that made the Urban Meyer decision, for example, and a Houston franchise that over the last 5 years especially, just a disaster area. So thinking about it from that perspective, that's where I'm just kind of like, I get it, but I do know a lot of people side-eyed New England because of what division that they played in.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
And again, not minimize it. They are a dynasty. They did it for years, 20 years. They dominated. But you say to yourself, if they were in a division that had better opponents, what would it have looked like? The Bills, for the longest, up until recently, Jay, were pretty much trash. The early 2010s, the Jets had a really good squads, but nothing that you could just say, yeah, they're going to be good. Miami has been up and down for so long that it's just like, well, you got Miami in your division. Again, outside of the AFC East division, with Tom Brady, with that defense, which doesn't get enough credit, with that special teams unit of the New England Patriots that doesn't get enough credit also, they did dominate. Again, we call it seeking comfort, okay? That make yourself feel better about losing. Make yourself feel better about why or how something didn't happen in your favor as opposed to the Patriots playing in the East. The AFC North is a trench. You really got to dig yourself out of it week in and week out. No matter how good or bad the teams are, it's going to be a fight. I don't know if the same can be said about the AFC East. Now, again, somebody want to call and push back. I'm all open for it. Again, that's just my opinion, and my opinion on that don't hold more weight than yours if you see it differently.
Eventually it's going to get tiresome to say, yeah, man, we won the AFC South. Eventually that's going to get old, especially when the division is low.
Yeah.
When it's going to be regarded as the worst in football, which it may well again. I don't know. I mean, you got two teams that are potential playoff teams, so maybe not. Maybe we need to look at that. I don't know what the worst division is, but you've got two teams that are still
NFC South
until further
Which one?
notice.
NFC
South.
Because it's just Tampa
because
and
Drew
nobody
Brees
else.
Drew Brees is not the quarterback in Sean Payton's.
Saints, Carolina, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is the only good one out of that group.
Yep.
But the Saints still have an all-world defense, and they may still be a winning team.
But the AFC South's still better than them.
Yeah, I
Two teams
guess
versus
so.
one. Yeah.
I mean, Brady carries more water than.
Sure, I mean the top end is way higher because.
But I
it's
mean,
Brady and Tampa
the
Bay.
Falcons are certainly comparable to either Houston or Jacksonville, and Carolina is too.
We'll see what they do with Baker.
Yeah, but I think Is Baker going to win 12 games? Probably not. Not with that team. Even if he could win 12, I don't think he's going to win 12 there. 615-737-1045. Like I said, I imagine most fans don't care. They just want to see everybody lose in the division and all that. I just think if you got to the end of the year, and you're going to want them to lose as the season is happening. I'm not suggesting that. I am saying if you get to the end of the year and everybody's been competitive, one thing, you've had a lot more fun watching football.
Yeah.
Because you've been more invested in division games and things like that. That's the other thing.
Oh my.
We talked about this off air. We'll do it after the break, but just when it's time for Texans-Titans, man, it's hard to get up for those games. It's hard to get up for those games. It really, really is. Even from a media perspective, we're just like, it's Texans this week? How much vacation do I have? You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people out there feel that way. 615-737-1045. We didn't do this yet, but we're wide open this hour. Redrafting the first round from 2018. Fun experiment that Mike Tannenbaum's website, 33rd Team, did. We'll jump into that a little bit. It's Jay Martin and Mo, 1045 The Zone.
Hey, Jay. You can save $200 off any style new window from Window Nation, man. Plus, listen to me. You can pay nothing until 2024. Maybe Malik Willis will be starting by then. And you can lower your energy bills and raise the value of your home with new energy-efficient windows from Window Nation, man. Sounds like a really good deal to me.
Look, I don't believe in championship windows in terms of 4 or 5 years. We got 4 years with this group.
Yeah.
No, you've got the present. Don't believe in championship windows as a philosophy. I do believe in windows from Window Nation, though. They've done over 1 million and over 150,000 homes, 96% needing no follow-up service. Over 16 years experience for the average installer. The guy that's going to come out and do it, it's probably done over 20,000 on average at Window Nation. They have over 1,500 custom window combinations available, vinyl, wood, and fiberglass. A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. I'm reading all this stuff. That's why I called them, and that's why I'm on their schedule to get 4 new windows. And I took advantage of this. Save $200 off any style new window from Window Nation and pay nothing until 2024. If you get a house of windows, you get a free entry door as well on top of that. So now is the time. Once again, $200 off any style window from Window Nation. No payments, no interest until 2024. A free entry door with the purchase of a house of windows. Save thousands on the windows and the energy bills. Upgrade the look and feel of your home. Do it by calling them at 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION or online
at windownation.com.
What's happening, J. Mart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Redrafting the first round of the 2018 NFL Draft, Tannenbaum's website, Mike's, the 33rd team. Interesting. Number 1, the Cleveland Browns.
They wouldn't do Baker again?
No. Redraft, they would take Josh Allen. And thoughts and prayers to Josh Allen if he ended up there.
Yes. And what's wild is he went, 7th? Because he had a little bit of a something
Mechanical
situation.
He threw long, but he didn't throw accurate.
Yeah.
And he played at Wyoming.
And Wyoming. That's exactly what did it. Yep, Wyoming.
Number 2, the Giants took Saquon Barkley. If they had it to do over again, they would draft Lamar Jackson.
Lamar goes from 30.
Last pick in the first round to the Giants.
Wow. Lamar moves up that high.
Look, they needed a quarterback. They should have taken one then. The guy that I would have had him take, maybe it would have gone wrong, but who knows? Change of scenery, what it would have done. But yeah.
You know what's so interesting about that? Everybody at that moment was saying the same thing behind the mug when it came to Saquon. You taking a running back that early?
That's what I said.
But Saquon was also so electric that he had to go to the right system or a big enough city. And New York thought they could handle that, man, for whatever it was worth. And it just goes to show you don't take a running back that early.
Not when you don't have a quarterback.
When you don't have an established team already.
That's right.
Yeah.
Number 3, the Jets via the Colts took Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And if they redrafted, Darius Leonard.
He'd be all right there. Darius Leonard would be okay with the Jets. He's a linebacker.
He was the 36th pick.
He was a 36th.
Darius Leonard was.
I didn't realize he was that late. I knew it was the second round. But, yeah, he's played like a first rounder since the day
Number
he got
4,
in.
the Browns via Houston. They took – do you have the list?
Denzel Ward.
Yeah, they took Denzel Washington. If they redrafted, according to the 33rd team, it would be Quentin Nelson.
Yeah.
So he would have gone 4 instead of
6.
where he went, which was 6.
Yeah.
Number 5, Denver took
Bradley Chubb.
Yep. And look, he's been good, but he hadn't lived up to 5 yet.
No.
They redrafted, they would take Orlando Brown Jr.
Really? And he was a second rounder too, wasn't he?
Browns, yeah, he was, I think that's right. Brown's career weighted approximate value of 41 is 7th in the entire class. Now, Bradley Chubb's been pretty good.
Yeah, he has.
But he's missed 25 out of 65 games. Brown hadn't missed a game in 4 years and has only had 15 penalties in 64 games.
Oh, wow. Orlando Brown Jr. was a 3rd round draft pick. And by the way, Kansas City shut down talks with him. He's going to play on the franchise. His next year market is going to be astronomical. Goodness.
Did you say Denzel Washington?
You said Denzel Washington.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought I'd let you say it, but okay.
No, that's right. On you.
All right. Somebody called me on it. So good call. Good call. I bet you he could play.
I bet his son
take
did.
Denzel at 4. That's
his son did play.
The Colts, who took Quentin Nelson, now would take Fred Warner.
Fred Warner, linebacker. I mean, they essentially got the same type of guy. Fred Warner was the second rounder, I feel like.
Yeah, he was. I think he's like 60s or 70s. Maybe I'm wrong.
Warner. Oh, his 3rd round. He was the 7th overall pick. 7.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills, who took Josh Allen via Tampa Bay, would have taken Jair Alexander.
He's been solid. But they needed a quarterback. I don't think you redraft that one.
Number 8, Chicago took Roquan Smith. If they redrafted, they would take Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Doesn't change. He's been one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league since he got there.
Missile, man. And I don't think he's that big either. Well, no, he's 6'1".
84 PFF coverage grade was the best among off-ball linebackers with 1,000 snaps. 5 sacks was 4th among linebackers. Man, he's a beast and on a terrible team.
Yeah. By the way, they went and got N'Keal Harry this weekend too. The Bears did. How you feel about that, Jay?
Man, they really do want Justin Fields to fail, don't they?
And God, it's dark outside right now. Y'all seeing this? Hey, y'all be safe. I know that wasn't a part of this list, but go ahead, Jay. I had to call it out.
Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah,
with the 49ers. Redraft Minka Fitzpatrick.
Minka. That ain't wrong.
Number 10, Arizona. Josh Ward. Or Josh Rosen. Yeah, Josh Ward, take him from Knoxville.
You went from Denzel Washington.
Because they would have redrafted Denzel Ward. I looked at the name afterwards. Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen. Is he a first-round draft pick? At all?
Josh Rosen?
Yes.
Not now that you've seen it, but I don't know. I just think he got broken by the situation. He's one of those that I still thought he could play, and I just think it broke him.
It's just
the
done.
Arizona thing was the worst spot that he could have gone to at that point in time.
He started 13 games, 55% completion rate, 11 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's just bad, Jay. Like, oh my God. You spent the first round on that. Again, that's why I'm not in a hurry to get away from Ryan Tannehill, because it's so hard to find a starter in this league, Jay. Goodness.
Miami took Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now they would take Derwin James at 11.
So
Derwin's just been hurt a lot, but man, he is a beast.
When out there, yes, he is. He's like a linebacker playing safety.
12, Tampa Bay took Vita Vea. Redraft Tremaine Edmonds.
Tremaine, he needs a little bit more respect around here. He's that good to me, man. You want to talk about just a phenomenal world-class athlete. This kid is good, and he's on a real strong Buffalo team right now. Buffalo, what's that?
13, Washington Commanders took Daron Payne.
Mm-hmm.
Redraft J.C. Jackson. Who's awesome.
Was he undrafted?
Yes.
Wow. That's why the league is so fun. I think that's why football is so much more different than any other sport. Sometimes it just takes time to develop, Jay.
And some of these teams, obviously, it's not like Vita Vea's been bad. It's just when you're looking at how I think it's a lot of it is based on what the stats have said about all of these. Like Vita Vea gets picked later in this round, I believe. Yeah. Marcus Davenport with the Saints at 14. They take Baker Mayfield at 14 right now.
That would have made the most sense to me. Going from Drew to Baker, I feel like in an environment that would have allowed Baker to grow, especially if it was Sean Payton. Now, how would you felt about that if it was Sean Payton as opposed to who was the coach before that hugged Baker? God, what love it. No, Lewis. Marvin. No, not Marvin Lewis.
Hugh Jackson.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you could have curated Baker a little bit better had it not been for Hugh, man.
The Raiders took Colton Miller, and they'd still take Colton Miller.
He's solid. I like Colton.
Shut down. There's a video on here with Brendan Thorne. Shut down Frank Clark in week 5 entirely. Bills took Tremaine Edmonds. Of course, he was taken earlier. They would take Saquon.
That's about appropriate for him.
What's funny, though, so the Bills have had 2 picks, right? So they would have taken Saquon Barkley at 16, according to this, and they would have taken Jair Alexander. So here's my question for you. Who's playing quarterback?
That's where I was going to go. I know this is like a one-off. Let's focus in on 1 year. But Buffalo Bills aren't the team we think they are without Josh Allen.
Not even close.
No.
They may be the Giants because they take Saquon Barkley. And, I mean, Jair's good, but you don't have a quarterback, so it doesn't matter.
You don't have the signal caller at all, man.
Chargers, who took Derwin James, redraft, would be Mark Andrews.
Where was he at on this list? Second rounder, I'm sure, is a tight end.
I believe that's right.
Yeah.
And obviously he's good.
Later in that draft.
Was he third?
Yep, 86 overall pick.
Green Bay took Jair Alexander via Seattle. They would now take, according to Mike Tannenbaum and the 33rd team, Nick Chubb, who was a second rounder.
Yeah.
Dallas took Leighton Vander Esch. They would take Jesse Bates.
Oh, my goodness. And he had a high ceiling, Vander Esch did, but it's at his neck issue.
Yeah, just his injuries have really hurt him a lot. Frank Ragnow was taken by the Lions at 20. They take DJ Moore now.
DJ Moore. Okay, that's solid. You hear about DJ Moore, but I didn't realize he was actually killing it like the way he was.
Since he was drafted, he's ranked up the 8th most receiving yards and more than Julio Jones.
Really?
In the past 4 seasons, he's hit 1,000 yards, especially considering the quarterbacks he's got.
Yeah. Good on him. DJ Moore, solid. Well, Baker might be able to do something with Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, they've got a few guys. If McCaffrey can stay healthy or if Foreman can do something.
Yeah, Baker can just
pouring outside.
It's poor. Again, zero complaints over here. Don't want to hear it. About
Cincinnati, Billy Price to Wyatt Teller. Who was a 5th rounder.
Jeez. Wyatt he's a stud, though.
Titans. This is just funny to me. Titans at 22 via Buffalo and Kansas City. Previous pick was Rashaan Evans. Redraft pick, Harold Landry.
Harold Landry would get bumped up?
I find that hilarious, personally.
Wow.
Because, of course, I mean, they ended up taking Landry anyway later in the draft, but they'd have taken him here now based on his performance and what he's done. Since 19, only 4 outside linebackers have more sacks than Landry. Matt Judon, Chandler Jones, Shaq Barrett, and T.J. Watt.
That's a solid group in front of them.
That's where you want to be.
That's a daggone good group in front of them. And Rashaan Evans, man, first-round draft pick out of Alabama. I think a little bit that was an Alabama love affair.
By the way, he still ends up in the first round.
Oh, Rashaan Evans does?
He ends up going 28th. No, who picked 28th?
Steelers.
That's right.
Is it the Steelers?
She.
Said he would have contributed perfectly in a way they haven't had since Shazier.
That's what I was thinking.
He's been, this is interesting, since 2019, Evans has been top 15 in combined tackles and quarterback hits. Weighted approximate value at 25, ranks 21st in this draft class. So, all right, so 21st in this draft class in this approximate value advanced statistic. And Titans picked at 22. So was Rashaan Evans a bad pick?
I don't think he was.
According to those numbers.
No, and looking back at his overall numbers, man, he started 7 games in his rookie year, 53 combined tackles, 2 TFLs, 1 quarterback hit. The next year in 2019 had a monstrous year, just being real with you. 111 tackles total, 2.5 sacks, and 8 quarterback hits. He's had a good career. I'm trying to figure out what was the separator and what was asked of him, because 2020 was a weird year for everybody, man. He went from 111 total tackles to 96. 4 quarterback hits. That broke in half, but in general, it wasn't a bad ride for Rashaan. I'd love to hear an explanation of why he isn't here. You know what I'm saying? Or his 5th-year option wasn't picked up. He's a ball player. It's just a matter of, do you spend more time on him? And the fact that David Long was younger and cheaper, and seemed like, if for anything, his speed and coverage lends itself to keep him around a little bit longer in this passing league that the NFL has kind of turned into. That's the one thing David Long brings to the table, right? His ability to cover a whole lot better. But still a first rounder. It's good for him, considering the fact they're doing a redraft and he's still in that list. Right.
That's where it's just kind of like, all right, it may not have, I think he underperformed what people anticipated. I do. He had some injury issues, but he had some consistency issues. There were times where he stood out for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think many Titans fans were that upset that he got moved or that he ended up somewhere else.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a disaster. I think that's the important point here. It's like, it's not like he can't play. If you still got him in the first round, that's worth thinking about as a Titans fan.
So on this list, though, I'm intrigued a little bit since Lamar is gone. Where's Baltimore as far as the 25th and the 32nd pick? Because they went Hayden Hurst and Lamar Jackson.
All right.
Where they left?
So the Patriots at 23 took Isaiah Wynn. They would take Deron Payne now. Panthers took DJ Moore, who's now gone. They'd take Frank Ragnow. Okay. 25. Ravens took Hayden Hurst.
Yep.
Then they took Mark Andrews later. So they took 2 tight ends. Redraft Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Suspended Calvin Ridley?
Oh.
Wow.
26, the Falcons took Ridley. Now they would take Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
Then you got Rashad Penny. Mike McGlinchey then comes back off the board. He was the 9th overall pick. Now he's 27. Steelers, like we said, Terrell Edmonds. Now they take Rashaan Evans. Jacksonville, Taven Bryan, Brian O'Neill. I don't actually know those guys.
I don't know Brian O'Neill off top.
Vikings took Mike Hughes. Now they would take Vita Vea. They got Vea going from 12th to 30th because he's batting in the passing game. Only 11 sacks in his career. Leonard Williams has 18 sacks in half that time.
I mean, but Vita Vea is not that type. He's
he's not.
He's a disruptor.
I think that's why it is, though, is because it's just the run stopping and the size, and because that's a limit. I would disagree there, but the other thing about this is, as you hear most of these names, what a draft.
Yeah. 18
what a draft.
Might go down as one of the better drafts, too, because all these players, for the most part, except for Josh Rosen, Vander Esch has played, but for the most part, this is a daggone good draft
Rosen
class.
and Darnold both aren't mentioned, of course.
Rosen and Darnold. Yep.
Patriots took Sony Michel. They'd take Carlton Davis because they wouldn't have J.C. Jackson. Baltimore Ravens, last pick, took Lamar, of course. Now they would take Braden Smith.
Who's Braden Smith? Oh, guard.
Yeah.
And that was
Auburn.
actually what's his name was still there.
He was fourth highest run block among all tackles behind only Lyle Collins, Ryan Ramchick, and Lane Johnson. Last year he was top 20 of all tackles with at least 700 snaps and fewest sacks allowed. And he's great in the run game.
Yeah. Huh. Wow. Did not know that.
I just thought that the Titans portion of that's hilarious to me. And then it's instructive that they still view Rashaan Evans that way.
As a starter, pretty much. And this is a current article coming out. Talking about Rashaan.
This came out like.
So his biggest detriment is passing game.
I think it was just consistency.
Yeah.
And I don't know this, but maybe there was a little bit of a culture attitude issue between the team and Rashaan. I don't know. He didn't flash as much as you wanted to see him flash.
Yeah.
While he was here.
I'll say this: David Long Jr. flashes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he flashes a good bit. So, hey, next.
And Rashad Weaver, that's what you kept talking about with Rashad. When the little bit you got to see him, he flashes.
Yes.
And that flash thing gets you paid in this league.
That kid
get you a job.
He's looking good this offseason. So I think he's with Bud right now at some beach working out with him, if I'm not mistaken.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's very good to hear. 615-737-1045. That's your telephone number. Again, if you saw this, it would be Harold Landry now and not Rashaan Evans. But then Rashaan Evans goes to Pittsburgh later. So you could have played with Rashaan.
Yeah, I could have played.
For a year?
Alabama guy. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
You're not that old.
Yeah.
I see you talking about your
old head.
About your age in the chat.
That's me saying I used to think 30s were old. They're not. Like, you're not old in your 30s.
You're on the backside of them now.
Yeah, I am. I'm closer to 37 for sure.
You're closer to 40 than you are.
Hey, 37, Shafe.
No, you're closer to 40.
Shafe just bit
We're
his
both on
lip.
the other side of 40. We're not giving you 37.
Shafe,
You ain't handsome. You damn sure ain't cute.
What are you, Shafe, 39?
That was a while back.
You're not? Hello, I thought you were still in your 30s.
No, I'm 41.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that.
We'll come back. We'll let you guys fight it out a little bit more.
Jason's older than both of us.
We'll do some heights.
And you thought I was going to let you stay?
Suck it.
Hold that.
Hold that.
Just play a bunch of random drops and then go to the break. How about that?
It is the summertime heat causing you to lose your cool. Don't let a broken down or older HVAC unit keep you from being comfortable in your own home, though. And it's Ramon Foster. I have the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs, and they are Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer free service calls with their repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs, too, if you need. And if you do need a new unit, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers 60 months, no interest financing. Plus, they can provide the financing for qualifying purchases and free estimates on replacement units. They also back their work with 10-year parts and labor warranties. So when the summer is at its hottest, and you know it's hot right now, they are at their best. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, available anytime at springhillac.com.
1045 The Zone is teamed up with WWE to give you a chance to hang out with J. Martin Ramon at WWE SummerSlam coming up Saturday, July 30th, 2 Saturdays from now at Nissan Stadium. Listen all next week for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to join J. Martin and Ramon and the fam at SummerSlam. For more information, visit 1045thezone.com/contests today.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Looking forward to that. SummerSlam next Saturday night at Nissan. We'll be hanging out with some of you. Good luck to you when we start giving those tickets out. Was it next week we're going to do all that?
All next week.
We got some guests too, man. Very excited about a couple of guests that are coming on the program next week. All right. We're going to do some heights.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have my full list of 10, so I'm going to have to do these sort of as we're rolling.
At cost.
At cost. I got to just find the right deal here. But we can start with this. Vanilla ice.
On you first, Shafe. You won last week.
Oh, I know. There was a tactic that somebody mentioned you on social media. Hey, make Schaefer go first because it's going to give you a better chance to win.
Look, I don't know that he's wrong. Whoever that person is that suggested that, I don't know that they're wrong.
That's because I figured that out a couple weeks ago.
They don't want Shafe to win, and I'm here for it. Let's
go. What's his name? Van Winkle or whatever.
Pappy?
Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah.
We're just talking about that during break.
We're going to go 6 feet.
6 feet. I go 6'1".
He is 5'11" and 1/4.
See? Doesn't necessarily mean it works. 60% of the time, it works all the time.
Michael Imperioli. He played Christopher Moltisanti on The Sopranos.
I felt like it was Sopranos.
5'9".
Yeah, I'm going 5'8".
He's 5'8".
Oh,
See? That one got you.
$1.
That one got you right there. That's why you do this.
That's right.
Michael Irvin.
I feel like he's taller than what I think he is.
6'1".
I'm going 6 foot.
He's 6'2".
Thank you.
And so far, it's sort of.
See, but here's the thing. Even if you go second, it's still 50-50 on which one.
I know.
That's right.
God, dog it.
Kyrie Irving.
Go ahead, Shay.
5'10".
No. 6'1".
Yep, 6'1.5".
Yeah. I kind of figured. I knew he was a short guard, but I knew he wasn't that short.
Usually.
You know who I was thinking? I
Oh.
wasn't paying enough attention. I thought you said Kyler Murray.
Did you really?
I honestly thought you said Kyler Murray.
That is a demerit.
For whatever reason, my brain heard Kyler Murray. I don't know why.
It's been one of them days, man.
Well, I mean, it's very dark and dreary and it's not completely awake.
Stuff just doesn't feel right today.
Yeah.
Steve Irwin, the late great crocodile hunter.
Irwin.
I'll go 5'8".
I'll give him 5'10".
He's 5'10.5".
Hey, now.
That's good. 3-2.
Allen Iverson.
6'1".
I got 6'1.5".
He is 5'11".
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
He's 5'11"? I thought he was a. You sure that's right?
I mean,
Why is he going to lie to you?
I thought he was like 6 foot. I didn't know AI was that short, man. Was that real or
That was you.
that was God dog?
When Jay sneezed earlier in the show, I decided to bring that one back up
I
on the
figured
board.
you knew it. Yep.
but you didn't get mine. But you didn't get mine.
Well, it's because there was a bit of an echo on that one, so it wasn't as high quality to use.
So it's 3-3.
It is. So
Yes.
I will say this: Google has him at 6 feet.
Yeah.
The website that I usually use for this did not.
I want is that combine height versus listing height. You know, like NBA
Height
height.
is 5'11" according to some sites 6 feet, but it's still pretty close. It's within an inch. It's not like
Still one.
it's a foot off.
He said still one.
Will Arnett,
Will Arnett. Shafe.
6 feet.
I'll go 5'10".
6'2.5".
Yeah, I thought he was a taller dude.
Tom Arnold,
Okay.
5'9".
I'm giving him 5'11".
he's 6'1".
Hey
Oh,
now.
he's taller than I thought. Yeah.
Hey, it's coming down to the wire.
There you go.
4-4.
Yep.
Aziz Ansari.
There we go. Sorry.
Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
5'8".
I'm going 5'6".
5'5" and 3/4.
Hey
Oh,
now.
All right. So the best I can do is tie this.
5'4".
Anthony Anderson.
Come on, Shay.
5'10".
I'm going 5'8".
He's 5'9".
Split it. So he still won 5-4-1.
He was so quick to say split.
Well, no, but it's 5-4-1. You still
No,
win.
you still win.
5-4-1.
Like he needed to actually win
I had
that
to win
outright,
that one.
and he did not.
I couldn't do the soccer tie to advance.
Yeah.
I had to win that one.
The soccer tie.
Yeah, so sometimes, you just get a draw in soccer. It's just like,
No,
that's good enough.
Is it though? Most everybody's just kind of like,
Yeah.
did you even play if it ended in a tie?
Here we go.
I've had a tie
Here we
game.
go. Yes, you
And
have.
they suck.
And it cost you a playoff
It
spot.
sucks,
Yes,
man.
it did.
I'm going to be real
You
with
had
you.
a week 1 tie game.
I've heard Babs complain about this. Ties suck.
Yeah, because it feels like nothing actually
Nothing
happened.
happened. Yeah. They suck.
Babs is correct.
Yes, she is.
Final hour of the program's coming up. About 35 minutes from right now, we're going to check in with Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, who the guru of lists over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Talk to him about some of that in the process of putting it together, what surprised him, and just get some thoughts as we get nearer and nearer to the start of camp across this league. Titans next week. We'll be right back. Jay Martin and Mo, 104.5 The Zone.
9:02, good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. SEC Media Days begin today at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. 3HL will broadcast live from there through Thursday, presented by Brentwood Hearing Center. LSU's Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin of Ole Miss, and Eli Drinkwitz of Missouri scheduled to speak today. Nationals defeated the Braves 7-3 in the final game before the All-Star break. Atlanta enters the break 2.5 games behind the Mets in the NL East, but in firm command of the first wild card spot. Major League Baseball draft yesterday. Bit of a surprise so early in the draft. Former Vanderbilt ace Kumar Rocker, who was selected by the Mets in the first round last season, only to go unsigned because of medical concerns, was selected 3rd overall by the Texas Rangers. Vanderbilt's Spencer Jones, 25th overall to the Yankees. Tennessee's Drew Gilbert, 28th overall to the Houston Astros. LAFC defeated Nashville SC 2-1 last night at Geodis Park. Gareth Bale made his MLS debut as a second-half substitute. And U.S. men's national team right back Shaq Moore set to join Nashville SC in a reported $2 million transfer with his Spanish club. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On over the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in. 4th hour of the program is here. Ramon Foster is here. Jonathan Schaefer's here. I'm Jason Martin at Ramon Foster at Schaefer on Sports at Jmart Radio at Jmart and Ramon. 615-737-1045 is where you will find us. You can also find us on Zone TV. Some folks hanging out in the YouTube. Hit that like button while you're there, or they will yell at you. I'm just trying to help you out. Whoever you are, I'm just trying to help you out. Greg Sankey's going to open the SEC Media Days. Is it 10:30 this morning?
10:30 Central Time, yep.
And then the cavalcade begins, and then we spiral towards the craziness of college football in the beginning of the NFL season.
Will there be anything crazy at the SEC Media Days? Like, that's the real question, considering Sankey was like, get it together now.
I mean, there'll be some things that are said that are funny. There'll be some quips here and there. Media days are media days.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate much in the way of fireworks. I would say Jimbo's not going to do what some people would have hoped a couple of months ago, and Nick certainly is not going to either.
He's going to be a tame bull.
Drinkwitz will be fun to listen to. Beamer will say some fun stuff, probably. Leach will say some crazy stuff. Lane will be
Lane.
We'll see what Lane does.
By the way, Vanderbilt is rated higher as far as commits right now, according to 24/7, than Ole Miss is. For a coach that has so much stock and pizzazz and just, I guess we say respect at this point, how does he not recruit better?
Look, if that's the case, then he'll leave Ole Miss.
It's just a matter of time, right? Is that where we're at with
If
Lane?
he can't recruit there, if he's having to struggle getting guys there,
oh my,
then he'll leave.
Because if I'm at the SEC Media Days, that's one of the things I have to ask him. What's the separator? Why are we at this point now where summertime recruiting has pretty much shut down for the most part? These kids have started their camps right now. Like, recruiting is almost done. The big time recruits have kind of committed. Like, signing day, the big signing day now happens in December. Like, Lane, what's going on? You're now rated as the 63rd class behind Missouri. And I know A&M had their big class. They're 61, and I feel like we all feel like they're going to make a push. But, like, Lane, as exciting as you are, you put these kids in Rolls Royces and Bentleys and, your Aston Martins, and it hasn't actually paid off for you. And I know Ole Miss has a very prideful school. And I'm confused as to why they're this low
I would
this late.
just say this. When do you remember Ole Miss recruiting?
Eli, Michael Orr.
That was a long time ago, but you were talking about Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
All right. What else is Hugh Freeze doing?
Is he recruiting his butt off right now? Where's Hugh?
No. What else was Hugh Freeze doing at Ole Miss when he was recruiting?
Cheating.
Right.
Yep.
Now the cheating's kind of all above board anyway.
It
right?
is.
So that's why I feel like Lane will see that as, okay, I can't do it here. I can't recruit here. Because he does have everything else that you would want for a coach. So it has to be, it's an Ole Miss problem. In his own mind, that's how he's going to see it, at least.
Okay.
That's why I would say, if this were to continue, one more time out, if somebody offers him a job at the right school, he'll leave because he just won't feel like he can recruit competitively at that university against the big dogs in the West, especially. But now in the East.
He can't go to the Pac-12 no more, right? That's pretty much closed off as far as what's left over there.
I don't know where he'd want to go out there anyway.
Yeah.
At this point. I mean, I don't know that it would be fully closed off. I mean, we've seen a lot of weird reemerging stories, but there are a lot of places in the country where you can recruit, and if you've got his
persona,
all of that, it'll work a lot better. It just, maybe Ole Miss is just not the right spot for him to be able to recruit in. Or again, even if it's a him problem,
man,
he will see that as Ole Miss is why I can't do this. He'll go somewhere where he should be able to recruit. And look, you can argue you should be able to recruit at Ole Miss, but again, the guys you were mentioning, that's been a while there.
Man. And they've had some players. AJ came out of there. Let's not forget that.
Well, DK Metcalf
came out of there. And Matt Corral is a guy out of there also.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he left Ole Miss last year just because Matt Corral left.
Yeah, but where?
But he got a transfer. I think he got a quarterback in there.
And I feel like we're dancing around it, but it's at least I am. But where does he go? Again, like I said, I'm not going to X off the Pac-12 going West Coast again. But if the Big 12's broken up and the two big schools have left also, and you also got Oklahoma State coach, which we didn't get to, say, hey, almost Magic Johnson, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
Like, where does he go in the Big 10 if that's the case?
I don't think he's a Big 10 guy.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's got to be an SEC job that's got to
unless
open
it's
up.
Florida State or something like that.
And Miami ain't on this list no more.
Not with Cristobal getting the job.
So Lane's going to backdoor somebody, or some school's going to backdoor Ole Miss and say, oh, hey.
I mean, maybe he goes to Auburn. You can recruit there.
Well, that's the one school possibly, considering what their coaching situation is like, and they don't necessarily love their
I think
head
it'll work
coach.
with Napier, but if it doesn't.
It's just confusing a little bit.
No, it is.
And as much, I'll say this too, and maybe me discussing this is probably because the love affair that some Tennessee fans still have about Lane, and everybody else is looking at Lane or in his situation. It's like, yeah, you're not really that. I think that 1 year he did in 2009 has a whole bunch of hopeful Tennessee fans like, man, we could have had something. And everybody else is like, well, that's just a y'all problem. It's basically what I'm saying. Like, Lane, you're okay, but you better be with Nick, which could be another situation. Does Alabama hire him if Nick retires in 2 years? Can Lane survive another 2 years in Alabama? I mean, at Ole Miss, if he can't get the recruits that he wants. He's got 5 commits, Jay, and the bulk of recruiting season is done for the most part.
Here's what's interesting. Here's an article from SI.com from May. This is how it starts. Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin may be the most elite recruiter in college football history. From Twitter hashtags to Maybachs and Rolls Royces to Labrador Retriever puppies, there's hardly a tactic he hasn't employed. Clearly, it has worked as Kiffin has dominated the transfer portal, and that's what he is doing well. Most recently, bringing in top-notch recruits like running back Zach Evans, 5-star quarterback Jackson Dart, that's the guy from USC, tight end Michael Trigg, and Jackson Dart was the number 1 prospect in the country. Tight end Michael Trigg from USC, wide receivers Malik Heath out of Mississippi State, and Jalen Robinson from UCF on the heels of a 10-win season. These commitments aren't just about Kiffin, but he has a heavy hand in this process. So he's all over the transfer portal.
Okay.
And a lot of guys are – this is interesting. I talked about this while you were out a couple of weeks ago, that Ryan Russillo has said that the new way it's done in professional sports is you don't stack up money for free agents. You stack up money for the next disgruntled superstar. You're waiting for Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You're waiting for Tyreek Hill to want money. You're not looking for guys that are even open. You're looking for guys that are going to become disgruntled and want more money and find their way out.
Right.
You are searching for that asset. You're not worried about free agency the way that you once were, like Philadelphia with A.J. Brown, just as one example. So transfer portal is kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to recruit, or are you going to let other people do the legwork? Let that guy get disgruntled in a bad situation, and then go grab Henry To'oTo'o.
Right.
Or go grab Jackson Dart if you're Lane Kiffin and get a guy that was number 1 rated.
Yeah.
Who was in a bad spot in USC. And, of course, Caleb Williams is coming out there anyway. So he leaves and he comes right to you, and you follow up Matt Corral with him. Like, if Lane becomes transfer portal god, then he may be fine.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And like you said, those players are already coming into Ole Miss mature and pretty much ready to go. They understand what college asks of you. And not just that, man. I feel like if you transfer to another school, like your degree of seriousness, like your degree of being a professional has to take another step. So maybe that is his key to success in Mississippi, man. I just, again, my point is the Tennessee fans that find that love affair like he's the savior. And I'm like, well, what's the recruiting aspect of what he has to offer? Because that does matter at some point.
I mean, at this point, if you're a Tennessee fan, you really should just not worry about Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing against Ole Miss. I mean, you can still dislike the guy, but at this point, just let it go.
Let it go.
You've got Heupel, he did well. You've got Hendon Hooker, who people really like. You have a lot to feel good about going into this season. There's no reason to even worry about the milk that's spilled. Like, it's actually already been cleaned up. You just keep pouring it back out somehow. Like, you go back in and spill more milk from the Lane Kiffin jug. Just let it go. Just throw the jug out. It's expired. Recycle it.
Yep.
No reason to worry about all this. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. Bill Conway's piece on the questions going into SEC Media Days and the East preview. We'll get into that a little bit deeper when we come back. Projections he has for the conference, as well as these burning questions, which we already gave you the pettiest one, which was when can Vanderbilt, show a pulse, is how he writes it.
Tough.
So we'll talk all about that when we come back. It's Jay Martin Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. J. Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. I'll just see if you were going to do it twice. Jeremy Fowler joins us about 8 minutes. SEC East football preview of Bill Connolly. Projections: Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Florida 3, Kentucky 4, South Carolina 5, Missouri 6. It looks like, according to, these are kind of analytically based, but average wins 8.5 for Tennessee, 10 for Georgia is the average number according to these analytics. Then you got 7.3 and 7.8 for Florida, and Kentucky 6 for South Carolina. I feel like that'd be disappointing with Rattler and a couple of the guys that they've got to come in there to play receiver. I'll be curious. I'm very curious to see what South Carolina does.
Me too.
Kentucky, I mean, I know what everybody says about Will Levis. I want to see more.
I thought people were higher on Levis, man. I legitimately thought, okay, they got – it's funny with Kentucky. Is it more of their reputation of past, Jay, than it is actually where they currently are? Like, they've done well. Stoops has done well as far as building a team, building a program. We were speaking about last year, remember, would he leave Kentucky? It was like, no, build that man a statue. He brought them from the ashes, man, and have Kentucky competing at a high rate to where the expectations are higher than they ever have been. But then you get people that still dismiss them. You got, Tennessee with more fanfare than they have, probably because of Tennessee just in general, and Kentucky's known as a basketball school. But Will Levis, you finally got a quarterback. I think we've all come to the conclusion that, look, if you're going to be a good program, you better have a quarterback. And I think that's high school, college, and the NFL at this point. And Will Levis is a seasoned veteran when it comes down to college football. And yet, Bill Bender had him 20th. Or what was it?
Some people have him top 5 in the draft. Yeah, Bill had him 21st, I think it was.
21st, yeah. Out of 25. And I'm like, how?
It's just a very wide variety of feelings on Will Levis.
I hate to keep calling it. It's just strange, that they don't get much more praise. And they are an SEC school. For the life of me, I just don't get why you don't get it. And they put guys in the league. They have offensive linemen that get guys in the league. I think they ended up finally getting that 5-star. Remember that said, oh, he went to the big event and said, oh, no, I'm not going to commit. And then he finally did commit to Kentucky. Weird, okay? Very weird.
I was reading some different things about Lane Kiffin, elite recruiter Lane Kiffin, about how he was crucial at USC. He was Pete Carroll's main guy that got most of their dudes there, and he was the star recruiter for Alabama. Okay. What I find interesting, and when he went to Tennessee, he got 3 top 100 guys after National Signing Day. He convinced all of them to come to Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's proven, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting about 2 of the 3 of those, I don't know if you include Tennessee, but at that point in time, they weren't that far removed from being relevant and pretty good.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is first place where he's gone, where there's not really a sustained track record of anything. It's not really a national brand the same way. And I mean, of a big school. I know he was at Florida Atlantic. But Alabama, you're a star recruiter at Alabama. I just feel like the script A is a star recruiter at Alabama. The wins, Nick Saban, the factory. It's probably easier to sell. And look, Lane Kiffin, I can imagine he could really be charming and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure he maximized it. USC's USC.
But he failed there too, right?
Well, as a coach, as a head coach, in a very short time, but under Carroll, he was great.
Well, yeah.
So he's won at places that have already proven himself and have brands behind them and things like that.
Established coaches too.
Yeah. So this is the first time he's been in a spot where Ole Miss doesn't really have a track record. It's Mississippi. It's great on campus, and they have an awesome fan base and all this, but it's still Oxford, Mississippi. Yeah. And so maybe that's why you look at the portal, because you're like, well, come play here because I can coach, and it's going to be fun once you get here. But maybe it's harder to sell initially. I know they've gotten some guys, but if they're finding themselves in the 60s right now, that's a concern.
It is a concern. And I see a comment say they don't call Kiffin the portal king for nothing. Right. That's true. And you can build that basis on it. But you do need solid recruiting classes to keep your foundation in place. Like, that's one thing, too, like getting your guys that's going to sell out for you. Or maybe Lane just doesn't care, and this is another pit stop for him. We spoke about what's his next gig. Auburn is probably the answer.
That would be the most sensible one.
I would say Alabama, but do you think they'll double back with that?
No, I don't. And I don't think that Lane, if I'm Lane, I don't want to follow Nick if Nick retires.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to be the guy that follows Nick. You better really believe in yourself.
Yeah. Well, he followed Fulmer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Lane's at a point he probably don't care. You know, like who's in front of him.
I just think Auburn's a place where you'd rather replace Brian Harsin than Nick Saban. And I'm not, again, I think Nick Saban's within 3 years is my prediction. I think he'll walk away.
Yeah.
But he may just find his way through this universe too and still be coaching 20 years from now. I don't know. But I could see Lane wanting to carve his own path. And you go to Auburn, then you're still going to be against Nick on that side. But it's Auburn as opposed to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And there is a difference in how those two programs are perceived when they're good.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I'm just very interested into how long he can last there. That's been my biggest situation with him is what's next for Lane Kiffin and how he's going to navigate these murky waters of the SEC as far as competing, as far as just in general. You know what I'm saying? For as much love that he gets, he's just behind the 8 ball when it comes to this type of thing. It is what it is, and Lane to find another route for himself too. Another piece too from Bender was Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
He's actually rated higher than Will Levis, and I can understand that for a guy that, of course, the knock is lost his starting position. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the one that's intriguing to me, but I can understand it. He's actually played a good bit. I know I brought up Quinn Ewers and what he could do for Texas, but nobody's actually seen him play. Will Levis has played, but Spencer Rattler's ahead of him. Now, if that's the case, the East could get very interesting if Spencer Rattler plays up to it.
Well, if Spencer Rattler plays up to what people thought Spencer Rattler was going to do last year, and what you saw flashes of 2 years ago, was it an Oklahoma problem? Was it knowing Caleb Williams was there and that watching Caleb and that broke your confidence a little bit? I don't know. I do think Rattler – I feel like Rattler strikes me as the kind of guy that's going to have a good year because it's South Carolina and it's a totally different environment.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling a lot of the pressure is going to be off, at least in terms of, I mean, South Carolina's not coming in here with national championship hopes.
No,
you go lose one game, they want you out of there. Like, it's a different environment. The only thing I'll say is this. Rattler's playing for his future. He's playing for Sunday. He's playing to show people again that he can be a big-time quarterback in a big-time conference in big-time moments. He's trying to prove he's big-time so that you'll take a chance on him early to where he can get a little bit of money in the NFL draft. So it's almost like it's a contract year for him.
It is, but as I go to South Carolina's website, Spencer Rattler named to the Maxwell Award watch list. I think that's automatic for him anyway. I'm guessing that's the best thrower or just one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But the question I have for Rattler, though, is you left Oklahoma to come to the SEC and play. And you say to yourself, well, how are you going to handle these defenses is kind of the way I look at it because they go to Arkansas, and that's going to be very wild for them. And they also got to play Georgia and just the SEC in general, playing A&M with the defense that they always have. And, of course, they're on the East to everybody else, but also the Clemson game. Like, kids, you better go. And, I mean, you better go fast because this isn't going to be a walk in the park. Defensively as compared to what he had in the Big 12. We know that was an air-out type of conference for the most part. That's kind of been the way I've always described the Big 12 is big plays down the field, not a whole lot of defense. Well, if his getting outside of the pocket is going to be a thing that he think is a weapon, he better be real good at getting down or delivering the ball downfield, Jay. Because as we speak about South Carolina, you like their coach too. I think their coach can do good things as far as South Carolina ask of him. But it's a different animal for a quarterback that's not the biggest, also likes to use his legs. It really reminds you of Baker Mayfield, except that he's going to play in the SEC. And maybe I'm overhyping what the SEC defenses are, but I don't think I am. It's going to be very intriguing to see how he handles that and what type of hits he take if he doesn't get down or a little bit more smart at being a quarterback that's protecting himself.
So some of the questions, am I deluded to love Tennessee this much? How long will it take Billy Napier in Gainesville? Does Kentucky have receivers? So there's one. It looks like maybe so. They got a couple of transfers. And then can South Carolina pull a Kentucky? To that point about Rattler. Offense was a mess. They were 86th in offensive SP, 97th in points per drive. And those numbers were up because of a 38-point bowl performance that brought in a Wildcat quarterback in that role. But they averaged 7.1 wins over the previous decade. South Carolina did.
Wow.
They went 7-6. They were 2-8 the year before. So they were 2-8, and then Beamer came in. They were 7-6. They were projected to finish 89th in the country, finished 66th. They bring back 8 of 14 players that played over 300 snaps last year. Oh. Special teams was really good, and Frank Beamer, his father, one of the great special teams coaches of all time. So you're there. Gamecocks projected to improve to 54th in offense. Transfers make the ceiling much higher. If Rattler comes back, they say one of the most electric arms you'll ever see. And the receiving core boasts guys that can play and should have a better one. So I think that's, again, what you want from Tennessee, if you're a Tennessee fan, is you need to be neck and neck with Florida every year, and you need to leave Kentucky and South Carolina in the dust. I don't know that that's going to happen this year, but that's what you want to do.
That'd be a huge boost for the program, though. I'm talking about huge. Honestly, if you can leave Florida behind, there's got to be a point in Tennessee history where Florida isn't a big bro the entire time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to jump on them, now is the time. If you're going to pounce this situation, now is the time as far as Florida goes. And I know they are a hotbed for recruiting, and I know their head coach now is a guy that can really get people going. And the fact that they finally bought into NILs, because he wasn't huge on that at first, but now they are. Now is the time for that to happen. Jay, I'm also looking at Vanderbilt's situation, too, as they've also changed their logo this year. I'll be honest, on their website, it looks pretty good. Can't believe
that logo can just go where it needs to go.
Are you on VandySports.com? Is that what it is?
VUCommodores.com.
All right, I want to see the logo on the website because
Do I have to play the Jimmy Wyatt from a few months ago?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you do.
It's just such a boring.
Here's the thing. I'll say this, Ramon. It does not bother me as it once did.
Yeah.
But it's just so bad.
Come on, man.
Is that the logo, or is it just the overall feeling about Vanderbilt?
See?
I'm going to keep it to just the first part.
Okay.
Because I love Coach Corbin too much.
I have seen the V on some hats, and it's simple, it's clean.
It says nothing.
You want the Star V back?
Here's the thing. It's not even that the Star V was amazing. Yeah. It's that it was unique to that program.
Yeah. This Virginia
I would
look.
rather you find a way to update the Star V than do this. That could be V for anything in the country.
Villanova,
Valparaiso, Virginia, Valdosta.
That is a very fair point, but they spent millions on this, Shafe.
Well, they could have called me and, give me $20. I could have taken care of it.
A lot of people spend a lot of money on search firms to hire bad guys. They have to then pay $16 to $20 million to get out of jobs. Whoever it was whatever search firm was like, there it is. There's a V.
And I know
V is the first letter in Vanderbilt.
Hearing this right now, they're going, blah, 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 blah. No, the logo sucks. It sucks. It's bad. It's awful.
In a world of things that you like, this wasn't something that people was asking for. Of all the
things that were broken, they didn't need to break that one.
Okay.
I don't hate it to the degree to say Jim Wyatt does.
I'm with Jimmy.
I'm about to go to Vandy's shop right now and see what all are they selling.
I stand with Jimmy Wyatt.
It's just very uninspired.
Yeah. Well, they still got Star V stuff on their website too, guys. So there's always that.
Jeremy Fowler, we had to back him up a little bit. He's going to join us to finish the show, so we're going to get to break a little bit early here, so we have some time with Jeremy.
Y'all are hard on the Star V.
We'll come back.
Or the bold V?
We'll come back with Jeremy Fowler. It's Jay Martin, Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. J Mart and Ramon 104.5 The Zone. Sure. Cousin Hightower sends a message in the chat on the YouTube channel. Girlfriend just sent me a pic of chocolate chip zucchini muffins. I've never had zucchini bread or muffins. They look fire. Banana bread I've had. Guys, is zucchini muffins and bread good? Zucchini is very versatile.
Yeah, it is.
You can do a lot with zucchini. I think we have some zucchini muffins that CG's eating right now. Blueberry.
Really?
Blueberry, oat, and zucchini, like kind of vegan muffin things. She likes them pretty well. You should try them. Like, not everything. Look at zucchini. Zucchini noodles are hit or miss.
Zoodles.
If they're too wet, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You got to, like, dry them off. You got to do something with them. But if you get them in the right consistency, they can be pretty solid. There's a pesto zucchini dish that I like.
Zucchini noodles. Zoodles.
Yeah, zoodles.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I got to give it to them.
I mean, look, you're doing it for a reason.
Yeah, no doubt. I
Like
just didn't know zucchini muffins was a thing, though. I did not know that.
Yeah, there's like vegan muffins and things that have like a lot of vegetables in them to find a way to get vegetables into your child when your child's otherwise not going to have vegetables.
Zucchini muffins code.
What?
It's code.
I'm hoping it's not. I'm treating it as if zucchini muffins is zucchini muffins.
Be code by the end of the show.
I don't want to change it into code.
Go ahead, chat. Take it away.
To the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, please be adults.
When have we ever done that before on this show?
No, you're not trying to act like an adult now.
We just did a promo talking about Lou Williams, and you're asking us to be adults.
It's Magic City Mondays, baby.
You wrote it, Shafe.
You read it.
You wrote it.
You read it.
Anyway, to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, we're going to finish up the program with class, dignity, and professionalism. Because we're 0 for 3 in the room. Let's at least be 1 for 4. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN's on the line. Jeremy, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Doing great. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. So you've become the guru of lists. Like, you've been the savior over the last 2 weeks for people in our industry. I've seen it everywhere. What when you're putting these lists together, what came out and surprised you most this year? Were there a couple of names that were higher and or lower than you were anticipating at some of these positions?
Yeah, certainly you get some surprises, which is what I like. You know, I try to figure out, you know, what kind of secrets the NFL has, guys that they look at that are more favorably than, say, the media. That was kind of the impetus of the exercise, you know. I wanted to kind of figure that out. And so, yeah, there's some surprises. I mean, just the fact that the NFL is not as high on Lamar Jackson as media and fans are. Like, I kind of knew that, but this year crystallized that. There are always some others, you know. It's I'm trying to think of some huge surprises. And some of it's always going to be flawed. You know, you're never going to get a full consensus, you know, unless you talk to everybody in the league. But, you know, like when Max Crosby came in as the 5th pass rusher, I got some text messages from some other people around the league like, what? He's higher than Khalil Mack? You know, what's that about?
One group that I got text messages from because I covered it was the D tackles. And to see Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, your boy Cam was not happy.
Hey, Jeremy, tell me, did you get a text too?
I didn't get a text from Cam. I actually was going to text him back. I knew he was unhappy with it. He's in the same place. He's always been 4 or 5 for the last, 3 years, I think. Which I get his beef. He probably played better this last year than he did the year before. Some of these guys get knocked on age a little bit. You know, he's 33. Where, you know, Fletcher, he was right there with Fletcher Cox 2 years ago. Now Fletcher Cox is barely getting any votes, and Cam's only getting better. That's a credit to him. But I think, you know, I think people around the league look at upside in 2022, and they look at just overall disruption. Where Cam Hayward's probably a better player than Jeffrey Simmons. But if you're drafting a team and looking at 2022, Simmons can, you know, I think teams just look at that guy as just, if it's not Aaron Donald, that he's the most disruptive. You know, like he's the guy that scares you the most as an offensive coordinator, as a coach, as an offensive guard. I just think that's sort of the feeling.
So there needs to be a better way to describe these lists, because we're like, hey, it's over 50 NFL executive scouts and all this other kind of stuff. I wonder, though, because this is how the world works, if people actually just blame you. Like if they don't like something, they immediately just think it was your list and they come at you personally.
A little bit. I think most people are smart enough to know. But yeah, like with the Lamar Jackson honorable mention list, I got a lot of emails and Twitter messages about being a Lamar hater, and I get that. And it's my name's on the list. But yeah, it certainly is just me creating a composite. I'm just a curator. I didn't actually vote on it.
One group for sure, Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor, man. What was the big separator between those two, and were you kind of shocked that it was that close of a vote with Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry?
No, I thought Jonathan Taylor was going to be one, just
So
because
did we.
Henry was hurt and he's getting up there in age. I just think, teams still look at him as the gold standard. They look at him as somebody who's always going to wreck your game plan, who's going to wear you down in the third and fourth quarter. I didn't really get any knocks on Jonathan Taylor, but the only thing I really heard is that maybe he's a little bit of a compiler of yards, and because he's in a good system with a good offensive line, a really good offensive line. I wouldn't say Tennessee's line is better than the Colts line. In fact, far from it. I mean, they were beat up last year, and Henry still was that guy, putting up huge yards and touchdowns. So I just think, even though Henry has some limitations in the passing game, or maybe he's not a 4.3 speedster, but he just obviously if you get him in the open field, he can go 80 yards. But he's so consistent, and I think for one more year he has the crown. I think by this time next year it'll probably be Taylor.
Speaking of Taylor Lewan was mentioned in the offensive tackles list, but the quote was not particularly flattering that you used, where it said someone said he's still living off his name a bit. Was that just kind of an isolated comment, or a lot of people kind of feel like we're on the backside of that career? Taylor Lewan's a bigger star than he is great football player at this stage.
Well, he got a decent amount of top 10 votes. I mean, there's still a sentiment for him as a high level player, because people like the power that he brings and the attitude and the toughness, but I think there was a sentiment from a few people that maybe he's declined a bit, but he's been injured a ton, so I think that's only natural. Can he still be a very good starting left tackle? Absolutely. I just think if we're talking the best of the best, he did slip a little bit in his standing this year.
When you look at the wide receivers, of course, the former Titan, A.J. Brown, man, didn't make the top 10, but you had DK Metcalf that did. And it's interesting that A.J. got paid already, but DK hasn't. So as far as those two, what did you find to separate as far as him making the top 10 and A.J. Brown not making the top 10, Jeremy? It must have went through a tunnel right there.
I don't know.
Last year, DK Metcalf, I believe, was 9. A.J. Brown was 10. And so this year, you got Deebo Samuel getting in because of the huge year he had, even though some debate his merits as an actual route-running receiver. And then you had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So you have all these new names coming in, and so it kicks somebody out. A.J. Brown was the odd man out, and Keenan Allen was the odd man out, which is surprising to me. Surprising and not surprising, but I think DK, just because of his just really rare height, weight, speed combination. And A.J. Brown has some of that, but he obviously doesn't have the size that DK has.
Is that
just makes him really unique, and just a guy who can score anytime he touches it.
It seems like when we saw this, and we saw it, based on where the guys you just mentioned that got left off the list, feels like to me wide receiver might be the most loaded with stars position in the NFL now. Do you think that's a fair argument?
Yeah, I mean, even 25 to 30 on the tier list is really good. You got guys like Amari Cooper. You know what I mean? It's loaded. I mean, there's enough talent for there to be an elite wide receiver, number one option on every team. That's why if you don't have one, there's really no excuse.
Yeah.
And you could argue Tennessee right now does not have one. So it's fascinating kind of what they're doing in their game plan. I actually like it with letting go A.J. Brown just because the money's insane, and they just made the calculation. We want to keep him, but we're not going to pay that, so we'll just go draft a new one, and we'll pay other people. I think they're going to pay Jeffrey Simmons. I think they're going to probably give Derrick Henry some sort of raise. And they got guys like Amani Hooker and David Long that you could pay. So you got to allocate your resources.
Yeah, for sure, man. Any surprises this year as far as the league go? I think everybody has their eyes, Jeremy, on the AFC West, man. Will you see 3 teams out of the AFC West? Where do you kind of see this year kind of trending? Because every year holds its own trend.
Yeah, it's always tough to put 3 teams from a division in the playoffs. Like I always want to forecast that. That was always the case with the AFC North. I'm like, how do the Ravens and Steelers not get in? And then there's probably one more, but it's hard for that to work out, as you know.
Yeah.
Choose a safer bet. So doing this list, it's funny. Like we're talking about the AFC West. I mean, the Chargers are absolutely loaded. Yeah. So, and they've gotten a lot better. And really, as far as top 10 appearances on this list, they had 7, and that's not counting Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. So, like, they're right there with anybody else as far as talent. So I'm going to put them in, betting on the quarterback, and then I still wouldn't go against the Chiefs. 12 wins every year with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together as a battery.
Yeah. Well, that's rinse repeat. That's fair enough. Jeremy, we appreciate it, brother. I know you had to back it up a little bit because you had a busy morning. We appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, man, you too. That's Jeremy Fowler. Now you can go on vacation, Jeremy.
That's probably what
all
I'm
right.
about to do.
That's how we finish the program. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Ron Soleil will join us from Atlanta. We'll have some fun. We'll recap whatever happens on Media Days. Buck Rising will have the start of Media Days and be able to talk about that with you. He's coming up next here from Ramon Foster and Jonathan Schaefer. I'm Jason Martin.
And remember, your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.